Pokémon, the Shiny Pokémon Attractor. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101. The battle was over, and the enemy was in a mess. In the battlefield, the wind speed dog kept running around the turtle and attacking. The turtle was also trying to counterattack, but its speed disadvantage made its counterattack ineffective. Shinji tried to take back the turtle several times, but was blocked by the wind speed dog every time. There was no need to think about it. It must be the trick of Xiaoxia. Turtle, parasitic seeds. Shinji saw that he could not take back the turtle, so he could only find a way to limit the speed of the wind speed dog. Damn. The big tree on the turtle shook, and seeds flew out and fell to the ground. Wind speed dog. Spray flames. Xiaoxia felt a headache when he saw the turtle scatter another seed. Before, Nidoking scattered a field of poisonous spikes, which could be avoided if you were careful. Now there is another field of parasitic seeds. This really turns the entire battlefield into a minefield. There is no way Xiaoxia can't gamble on the luck of the wind speed dog. He can only change his attack method. The wind speed dog stopped immediately after hearing the command, and then opened his mouth wide and shot out a column of fire. Dote turtle. Earthquake. Shinji commanded with a serious face. Damn. Dote turtle ignored the fire column and stomped on the ground. The ground began to shake violently, and the wind speed dog subconsciously jumped up. Dote turtle. Wooden hammer. Shinji shouted when he saw the right time. The Dote turtle stretched out two vines, and the vines intertwined into the shape of a hammer, covered with emerald green energy, aiming at the leaping wind speed dog and smashing it down. Ouch. The wind speed dog was smashed directly to the ground. The Dote turtle deliberately smashed the wind speed dog to the place where the parasitic seeds were. The seeds that were touched exploded instantly, and the vines grew and tied up the wind speed dog tightly. The tied wind speed dog rolled over and stabbed a lot of poisonous spikes. The battle situation has changed. Player Shinji saw the opportunity and completed the reversal of the situation. The host commanded loudly. Xiaoxia was careless. Xiaoming said. No, Shinji lost this round. Wutong shook his head and said. How is it possible? Xiaoming was about to refute that the situation on the field changed again. The wind speed dog, which was tied up tightly by the parasitic seeds and stabbed with poisonous spikes, disappeared directly. Awoo. A dog barked in the air, and a fireball fell from the sky and hit the earth turtle. What happened? Xiaoming said in surprise. It's his substitute. The wind speed dog used a substitute after jumping up, and its position just coincided with the sun. Neither Shinji nor the earth turtle noticed it. Wutong said. Of course, Wutong was able to find out because he was in the audience. If he were in Shinji's position now, he would have found it difficult. Arcane. Spray flames. Xiaoxia decisively let Arcane make the final blow. Turtle. Bite it. Shinji also knew that there was no chance in this round, so he could only let Turtle do as much damage as possible. Turtle tried hard to bite Arcane and bit Arcane's front leg. Arcane's spray of flames also hit Turtle. Turtle soon couldn't hold on and fell to the ground with his eyes turned into circles. Turtle lost his ability to fight. The referee waved a small flag and said. Shinji silently took back Tortoise, looked at the Arcane on the opposite side who was in good condition, thought for a moment, and threw a Pokeball. Nidoking appeared again. Nidoking. Arcane. Morning light. Xiaoxia commanded. Nidoking. Power of the earth. Shinji shouted. Argyle stood up straight, raised his head, and felt the sun. Shinji obviously didn't want Argyle to recover like this, so he asked Nidoking to interrupt it. Nidoking stretched out his claws, and a stone pillar sprang out from under Argyle, and lifted it up. TSK, Argyle, super speed. Xiaoxia saw that there was no chance to recover, and started to command Argyle to attack. Awoo. Argyle adjusted his posture and instantly sped up, leaving a trail of after images. Nidoking, power of the earth. Shinji continued to command without hesitation. Nidoking leaned down and pressed his two claws on the ground. Although he couldn't catch up with Argyle's speed, Nidoking predicted and stabbed stone pillars one after another nearby. Argyle was very unhappy with the super speed because of the interference of the power of the earth. After all, Argyle didn't know whether a stone pillar would suddenly appear in front of him. A good solution, no, but this can only last for a while. Not to mention how long Nidoking can continue to use the power of the earth. After Arcanine gets used to it, this method will not work. Wutong analyzed in the audience. Not necessarily. After all, it is a burden for Arcanine to use the speed all the time. It depends on which side can't hold it first. Xiaoming put forward a different opinion. Xiaomao's Arcanine kept squeezing his physical strength, trying to make himself run faster. Arcanine finally broke through the layers of stone pillars and hit Nidoking. Nidoking, grab it. The power of the earth. Shinji commanded calmly. It seems that he has made up his mind to forcibly replace Arcanine. Nidoking resisted the speed of Arcanine, stretched out his claws to hold down Arcanine, and then stabbed a stone pillar under his feet, and sent himself flying. Nidoking and Arcanine fell to the ground together, and lost their ability to fight at the same time. Nidoking lost their ability to fight at the same time. The referee confirmed the situation on the field, and waved the flag in his hand and said, "Adjust the chapter 102. The battle was a battle. Come back, Arcanine. Go, Nidoking. Arcanine. Get ready for battle." Xiaomao and Shinji didn't say anything more, quickly took back their own Pokémon that had lost their ability to fight, and then released the last Pokémon. This time the lineup was reversed, and it became Xiaomao's Nidoking against Shinji's Arcanine. By the way, Xiaomao and Shinji's lineups overlap quite a lot. Wutong said as he looked at Shinji and Xiaomao, who had released their last Pokémon. That's true now that you put it that way. Xiaoming also agreed. After Xiaomao traveled for a while and Shinji returned to the Sinnoh region, the overlap between the two lineups became even higher. After Xiaomao replaced Nidoking, he finally didn't have to pay attention to the poison spikes on the field. After all, Nidoking, who has the poison attribute, is not afraid of being poisoned. Xiaozhi, super speed. This time, it was Shinji's Xiaozhi who bullied people with speed. Nidoking, earthquake. Xiaomao directly used his own method to make Nidoking respond with an earthquake. Xiaozhi, jump up. Shinji shouted. Nidoking, poison spikes. Xiaomao slowly took control of the field. Nidoking waved his claws, and a large number of poison spikes were scattered on the field. However, Xiaozhi is not as simple as jumping up to avoid the earthquake. The stone pillars made by Nidoking with the power of the earth in the last round played a role at this time. Xiaozhi bounced between the stone pillars and rushed towards Nidoking at high speed. Nidoking was rushed without defense and was directly knocked away by Xiaozhi. This makes us have to mention the size of the two Arcanines again. Xiaomao's Arcanine is more flexible, while Shinji's Arcanine is stronger, which results in Shinji's Arcanine hitting with greater force. This is also why Shinji's Nidoking barely withstood the impact of Xiaomao's Arcanine, but Xiaomao's Nidoking was knocked away by Shinji's Nidoking. The knocked away Nidoking hit the stone pillar directly, and the stone pillar, which was not very strong to begin with, collapsed under this impact. The falling rubble caused secondary damage to Nidoking. Nidoking, cheer up. Gather your energy. Xiaomao called Nidoking. With a roar, Nidoking rushed out of the rubble. Arcanine, come at it again. Shinji commanded. Abahoo. Arcanine barked and rushed towards Nidoking again, leaving a trail of after images. Nidoking. Super horn attack. Xiaomao knew that he couldn't dodge it, so he had to fight head on. The horns on Nidoking's head glowed and stretched, and Nidoking began to charge recklessly. With a muffled bang, Nidoking and Arcanine collided with each other. Bite it, Thunder Fist. Shinji and Xiaomao shouted at the same time. Arcanine bit Nidoking's shoulder, and Nidoking also punched Arcanine's head. Flame Fang, make a scene. Flames burst out from where Arcanine bit Nidoking, and Nidoking's eyes turned scarlet, and began to vent their crazy attacks. Arcanine. Resurrection. At the last moment, Shinji finally took out the skill he had been hiding. Arcanine, which had been slow in its movements, suddenly seemed to be resurrected at full status and bit Nidoking madly. The two Pokémon attacked each other with all their strength. Finally, the result came out, and the two Pokémon fell to the ground at the same time. The whole audience was silent for a moment, waiting for the final result. After a while, Arcanine stood up tremblingly, and Nidoking on the other side also wanted to stand up, but its body could no longer bear it. In the end, Nidoking closed his eyes unwillingly. Nidoking has lost his ability to fight. The winner is Shinji from the Sinnoh region. The referee announced loudly. In an instant, the whole audience began to cheer, shouting for this wonderful battle. Arcanine finally couldn't hold on at this time, and fell straight to the ground. Xiaomei and Shinji didn't pay attention to others, took back their Pokémon, and rushed to the Pokémon Center. Both of their Pokémon were seriously injured. Shinji was obviously more anxious than Xiaomei, not because his Pokémon was more seriously injured, but because he was promoted. That's right, because they have advanced. Starting from tomorrow's quarterfinals, the rules of the battle will change from 3v3 to 6v6. For Shinji, who believes in the policy of elite troops, if one of the 6 Pokémon cannot play, he will face a 5-on-6 or even 4-on-6 situation. It has to be said that the Quartz Conference is really unfriendly to new trainers. After all, the continuous competition system is a great test of the depth of the player team. Xiaomei and Shinji met in the players' waiting room. The two looked at each other and no one spoke. Shinji left in a hurry, and Xiaomei was surrounded by his girlfriends. Okay, girls, don't put on that expression anymore. My medal is your tears. Xiaomei smiled and comforted the dejected girls in front of him. Hearing Xiaomei's comfort, the girls couldn't stay in Bangbu anymore and started crying. Xiaomei. A voice that Xiaomei was very familiar with sounded. This time, it's just that the goddess of victory didn't smile at me. You should worry about yourself. The next game is your game. Xiaomei said without paying attention to Xiaozhi, and left the players' waiting room with the crying girls. Xiaozhi didn't know what to do when he saw Xiaomei walking away slowly. Even though he was slow-witted, he could feel Xiaomei's loss at this moment. The smile on Xiaomei's face, who was walking in front, gradually disappeared, and only unwillingness remained. Next time, I will definitely not lose next time. Xiaomei thought silently. Even if his wish was to become a Pokémon doctor, he also had battles and people he didn't want to lose. What should I do? Where should I go now? Xiaomei asked Wutong. Xiaomei, that guy, should comfort his girlfriends first, and go see Shinji. If his Pokémon is too seriously injured, I will need to help him. After all, he has finally advanced. If he stops, because of this reason, I think both he and Xiaomei will feel very uncomfortable. Wutong said. That's right, then Xiaomei will wait until the evening to talk about it. Let him comfort his girlfriends first. Xiaomei nodded in agreement. Xiaogang, who was standing on the side, heard the conversation between Wutong and Xiaomei, especially when it came to the part about Xiaomei's girlfriends, and his ears trembled unconsciously. Obviously, Xiaogang was very envious. Xiaoxia was very helpless on the side. Why are boys like this? Wutong and Xiaomei left the audience and came to the Pokémon Center and found Shinji, who came to treat his Pokémon. How is it? Are the injuries of Tortoise serious? Can they recover before tomorrow's game? Wutong came to Shinji and asked. You and Xiaomei really tried your best, and the fight was too tragic in the end. Xiaomei complained. I don't want to lose to that playboy. Shinji said seriously. Ms. Joai said that, although the injuries of Tortoise are serious, they can recover to the point where they can fight before tomorrow's game, but they won't be in the best condition. Shinji paused and said, is that so? It seems there is no need to worry. Wutong said, you'd better take care of yourself. Your next opponent will appear in the next game, right? If I remember correctly, that guy named Xiaoxi may become your next opponent, right? Shinji glanced at Wutong and said, yes, I forgot. The next game is Xiaoxi's game. Wutong jumped up and said, hey, didn't you come out because you knew that the next game was Xiaoxi's game? Xiaomei said in surprise. How is it possible? Let's go quickly. My dear friend, I will come back after I finish watching Xiaoxi's game. Wutong said as he ran towards the audience. Hey, wait for me. Xiaomei said and chased after him. Reckless guy. Looking at Wutong's back, Shinji shook his head helplessly and said, Chapter 103. The game was over, but the game was over. Wutong, who ran out, suddenly thought that this seemed to be the time for the rocket trio to cause trouble. Wutong couldn't help but speed up his pace. Although the game was delayed from day to night according to the anime, it also caused Xiaoxi's team to not recover, which led to Xiaoxi's failure to a certain extent. Even if we lose, we have to lose it with dignity, Wutong said to himself. Thinking of this, Wutong ran out of the quartz stadium and called out the Crowhead. Although the Crowhead had just fought a 3-in-1 battle, his injury was not serious. So Wutong recovered it himself, and now there is no problem with taking Wutong to find someone. Hey, where are you going? Xiaoming couldn't help shouting when he saw Wutong running away. However, the hurried Wutong had no time to pay attention to Xiaoming's shouting. Crow leader, search around. Find where that guy Xiaoxi is, Wutong said in a cold tone. Although the rocket trio has always been stupid and always acted as the protagonist in the name of villains, what they did this time was really too tactless. It was also one of the few times that Wutong felt that the rocket trio was annoying. Of course, Xiaoxi himself was stupid for a certain reason. Crow leader felt Wutong's anxiety and his speed was getting faster and faster. After flying nearby for a while, Wutong and Crow leader saw a truck with a huge Meowth head painted on it on the road next to a forest. But this truck was leaking water outside. That's the truck. Crow leader rushed over. Wutong said. Gap. The airflow instantly wrapped around the crowhead, and the urgent desire made the crowhead speed surpass that of the truck in the blink of an eye. Swampert. Stop this truck for me. Arm hammer. Wutong shouted. Rag. Swampert appeared on the road ahead of the small truck, and his arms emitted light and hammered the truck. With a bang, the moving truck was forcibly stopped by Swampert. What happened? Meow. X3 The rocket trio did not pay attention to the situation ahead because of the rising water level in the car. At this time, they were a little overwhelmed by Swampert's forced stop. Swampert, keep an eye on these three guys, Wutong said and came to the door of the car. Are you okay, Xiaozhi? Wutong opened the door of the car and asked. Yes, Xiaotong. Why are you here? Xiaozhi, who was wet all over, saw Wutong and asked. Jenny. Squirtle was very happy when he saw Wutong and jumped into Wutong's arms at once. Pikachu also ran to Wutong and shouted to express his gratitude. It's your turn to compete soon, but I can't find you. I guess you are in trouble. So I came to find you. Okay, hurry to the competition venue. Your opponent should be waiting for you. Leave the three of them to me, Wutong said. That's right. My competition. Xiaoxi remembered the most important thing at this time and quickly got up. Wait a minute, are you going to run? Wutong said helplessly when he saw Xiaoxi preparing to start. Otherwise? Xiaoxi asked in confusion. Crow Chief please. Take him to the competition venue, Wutong said to Crow Chief. Gap. Crow Chief nodded and shouted. Go, Xiaoxi, you must win, Wutong said. Thanks, Xiaotong, I will definitely win. Xiaoxi took back the Squirtle and jumped on the back of Crow Chief with Pikachu and said. Okay, Xiaoxi should be fine, so the next thing should be, Wutong said as he walked to the cab of the small truck. At this time, the three members of Team Rocket had come to their senses, but with Swampert staring at the three members, they did not dare to act rashly for a while. You three just stay here honestly. Normally, I don't care if you want to catch Pikachu, but you dare to make trouble when it's important like his game, Wutong said and glared at the three members. Shinji's personal disciple came online with a gloomy face. Looking at Wutong's fierce eyes, the three members of Team Rocket hugged each other and did not dare to resist at all. Their instinct told them that if they did something now, something terrible would happen. Wutong waited for a while, and when he saw that the time was almost up, Wutong decided to go back to watch the game. We can't leave these three like this. Where is this guy? Let's do it. Wutong squatted down and knocked on his shadow. After a while, a rope floated out of the shadow. So, who of you three will go first? Wutong said to the rocket trio with a brilliant smile. At this time, in the eyes of the rocket trio, Wutong was like an innocent devil. After a while, after Wutong completed his work, he took back the giant Swampert and flew back to the vicinity of the quartz stadium on the fossil pterosaur. It's really too shameful, meow. After making sure that Wutong had left, Meow Meow said, "Yeah, I didn't expect that brother Wutong actually had this hobby." Kojiro's face flushed. "You two, think of a way. Damn it, this revenge must be avenged." Musashi said with gnashing teeth and a red face. At this time, the three of them were tied up tightly with ropes, and it was an authentic turtle X tie. Kojiro didn't dare to look at Musashi at all. After all, there are differences between people. Although the speed of the fossil pterosaur is not as fast as the crow leader, it is also very good. It quickly brought Wutong back to the vicinity of the quartz stadium. "Thank you for your hard work, fossil pterosaur." Because he was afraid of attracting other people's attention, Wutong took back the fossil pterosaur at a distance from the quartz stadium, and then walked slowly towards the audience. "Hey, Wutong, you're back. Where did you go? By the way, it was your crow leader who sent Xiaozhi here, right?" Seeing Wutong coming back, Xiaoming asked a series of questions. "That guy encountered some trouble. I just went to help him, and it seems that he caught up with the game on time." Wutong said. "Yes, although he was not late, he basically arrived on time. But Xiaozhi is in the upper hand now and looks good." Xiaoming replied. "Really? By the way, where are Xiaoxia and Xiaogang?" Wutong asked. "They went down to cheer for Xiaozhi." Xiaoming pointed behind Xiaozhi and said, "Oh, I see." Wutong nodded and saw Xiaoxia and Xiaogang sitting behind Xiaozhi's friends and relatives, and Crowhead who was watching the show there. At this time, Xiaozhi and Ahung's battle was already halfway through. As expected, Ahung started with Butterfree, while Xiaozhi chose Pidgeot. It must be said that Xiaozhi's Pidgeot is still very capable. Without the influence of pulling the hot air balloon to bring Xiaozhi into the field, the energetic Pidgeot easily defeated Butterfree. Now Pidgeot is fighting with Ahung's Ren. Although it has a disadvantage in attributes, Pidgeot is still trying to contain it, and it seems that it intends to make the greatest contribution. After taking another 100,000 volts from Ren, Pidgeot still lost its combat ability. Xiaozhi directly sent Pikachu, based on the principle that it would be uncomfortable for two Pikachus to kill each other. And Pikachu, who is not entangled by Team Rocket, can be said to be in perfect condition, and he is even more powerful when facing Ren. Attack. With the crushing battle of "You electrocute me, I'll be more energetic. I electrocute you, I'll take half your life." Ren was defeated. Seeing this situation, Hiro's face became serious, and then he said that he also knew Pikachu, and then sent Charmander Chapo. Hiro was not bragging. He did know Pikachu very well, but he didn't know Pikachu, and finally lost bitterly under Pikachu's full-powered 100,000 volt sky punishment. Xiaozhi also successfully entered the top 8. Looking at Xiaozhi and Hiro shaking hands in the battlefield, Wutong couldn't help but sigh that the plot in the anime really killed them. If Xiaozhi's team was in its prime at that time, Hiro's chance of winning was not great. Not to mention Xiaozhi, who has grown a little more than in the anime. You know that his powerful Beedrill hasn't been put on yet. Today, the chapters were adjusted, so readers who have been following the update can turn forward to match them. Chapter 104. The two of them went to the Pokémon Center and found Shinji. "Let's go. Now that I know who my opponent is tomorrow, let's go see how Shinji's Pokémon is recovering, and then go and comfort that playboy." Wutong stood up and said after watching Xiaozhi's game. "Okay, let's go. Xiaomeo, that guy won't be hiding somewhere crying now, right?" Xiaoming teased. The two came to the Pokémon Center and found Shinji, and the three of them began to look for Xiaomeo in the player village. "So, why can't we comfort that playboy?" Shinji said with a frown. "Wow, this person's personality is really bad, and he doesn't want to take responsibility at all." Xiaoming said to Wutong in a low voice. "That's right, even as a close friend, I can't stand it anymore." Wutong responded in a low voice. "You two guys." Shinji glared at the two with twitching eyes. The three of them looked around the athlete village, but didn't see Xiaomeo, and the sky had already darkened. The three of them discussed and decided to go to dinner first, and came to the restaurant they came to every night, and it was the familiar table again. After ordering food, the three of them started chatting. However, before the three of them had a few words, Xiaomeo showed up by himself. Without any politeness, Xiaomei sat directly on the empty seat. Although the seat was originally reserved for him. Hey, we looked for you for a long time, but couldn't find you, and you came out by yourself during dinner. Xiaoming said when he saw Xiaomei sitting down. You don't look very good. Did a failure hit you so hard? By the way, Shinji, how did you know that he would show up by himself during dinner? Wutong asked curiously. Because I saw him when I went to look for him in the afternoon. At that time, this playboy was shopping with his girlfriends. Shinji said calmly. You bastard, gloomy monster, since you saw me, just talk to me, and take me away. Xiaomao roared after hearing what Shinji said. Humph, playboy. Shinji snorted coldly. After leaving the contestant waiting room, Xiaomao saw that his girlfriends were very sad, and in order to comfort them, he simply offered to accompany them shopping. As a result, Xiaomao regretted it. The shopping ability of girls who wanted to vent was at least 50% higher than that in normal conditions, and there were 6 sad girls who wanted to vent. However, words are spilled, and Xiaomao could only bite the bullet and go shopping with his girlfriends. Now hearing that he had a chance to escape from the sea of suffering, but the person who could save him chose to stand by and watch, Xiaomao went crazy. It looks like you don't need comfort at all. Xiaoming looked at Xiaomao and Shinji who quarreled every day, and said to Wutong. Well, indeed, there is no need to comfort him when he is so energetic. By the way, Shinji, why didn't you tell us that you saw him this afternoon? Wutong nodded in agreement. Because I don't want to comfort this playboy at all, Shinji said without hesitation. Arsehole gloomy monster, it seems that I really want to be comforted by you. Xiaomei continued to roar. You have so much energy, why not think about how to get back to Pallet Town? If I were you, I would definitely not have the face to drive back. Right, the playboy of the toxic gene. Shinji said. Just kidding, I didn't plan to go back at all. I also wanted to see how you lost. Don't lose too badly. Xiaomei said. TSK, you two really have a good relationship, right? It is said that Tsundere is not popular now, so be honest. Wutong shook his head and said. Who has a good relationship with this guy? No, who is it Tsundere? Shinji and Xiaomei shouted at Wutong together. The 4 of them finished their dinner noisily. After dinner, the 4 tired people returned to their dormitories to rest. However, Wutong used the power of Changpan to heal Shinji's tortoise, Nidoking and Windy Dog again while sleeping, ensuring that Shinji would not lose tomorrow because of the status of his Pokémon. After a night, it was the 6th day of the Quartz Conference, and the top 8 to 4 competition officially began. Hello, everyone. I'm Xiaozhi, today's host and commentator. The previous host could not continue to work due to some special reasons, so I will accompany you in the next Quartz Conference. A soft voice came out. It's not you, is it? Xiaoming asked Wutong in the contestants' waiting room. You are talking nonsense, there is a price to pay. Wutong said without hiding anything. Of course, Wutong definitely did not do anything illegal, he just reported and complained. He complained about 200 times. Then the Quartz Conference quarterfinals officially begins. Please invite the first contestant to come on stage, the host said. Wutong and Xiaoming looked at the big screen in the contestant waiting room. The first game today is Shinji's game. His opponent is a trainer from Vermilion City. But Wutong didn't have any impression. Come on, Shinji. Shinji is the best. In the friends and relatives seat behind Shinji, Xiaomao sat there with a proud look on his face. And behind Xiaomao were his 6 girlfriends, who now played the guest role of Shinji's cheerleaders, and cheered him up. You guy. Shinji didn't feel happy when he heard the cheers behind him, but felt it was very noisy. Hey, don't thank me. Xiaomao said. So do these 2 guys have a good relationship or not? Xiaoming said with a confused look on his face. Maybe only the 2 of them know. Wutong shrugged and replied. Chapter 105. The battle ended quickly. Although his opponent was not bad, he was not as good as Xiaomao. Thank me, gloomy face. Without my girlfriend as a temporary cheerleader for you, you would never have won so easily. Xiaomao said to Shinji in the waiting room. Come on, Shinji. Shinji is the best. X6 Xiaomeo's girlfriends cheered again on the spot to match Xiaomeo's words. You bastard. Are you afraid that I will go too far? Shinji said angrily with a twitch in the corner of his eye. Why do you two always quarrel every time you meet? I'm a little too lazy to care. Wutong walked over and said helplessly. That's right, even a couple quarrels. No one cares about it. Xiaoming shook his head and said. Huh. X3 Wutong, Shinji, and Xiaomao stared at Xiaoming at the same time. What a guy, he scolded 3 people with one sentence. Xiaoming has been with Shinji for a long time, and he is better than his master. Well, the next game is between you and Xiaoxi, the last one, right? Xiaomao said. Yes, it's quite exciting. Wutong said with a smile. That guy is very wrong. Shinji frowned and said, when he thought of Xiaoxi, although it doesn't seem to admit it, that guy is not weak now. Xiaomao thought for a while and said, by the way, what should we do with this green caterpillar? Shinji kicked the green caterpillar squirming at his feet casually. Just throw it here. Wutong said without hesitation. Hey, I was wrong. Let me go quickly. Xiaoming, the green caterpillar, said hurriedly. Hand over the green caterpillar Xiaoming to Shinji and Xiaomao to deal with, and the time for Wutong's competition has come. Dear audience, the break is over. Let's start the second round of the top 8 today. Now, please invite the contestants to come on stage, said the host Xiaoxi. The one entering from the left is the mysterious contestant Wutong from Viridian City who has shown his super strength and has not yet revealed his third Pokémon, said the host Xiaoxi. The one entering from the right is Xiaoxi from Pallet Town, who has always fought with a brave fighting style and played fiercely, and has attracted everyone's attention. After introducing Wutong, the host Xiaoxi continued to introduce Xiaoxi. Xianatong, I can finally have a formal battle with you. Xiaoxi walked to the contestant's command platform and said with Pikachu. Pika. Pikachu shouted excitedly. I'm also looking forward to it. Wutong responded with a smile. Both players are ready, and the game begins. The referee saw Wutong and Xiaoxi both entered the field and stood up, and announced with a wave of the flag in his hand. It's decided to be you, Pidgeot. Xiaoxi threw the Pokeball and shouted. Crow Chief, it's your turn to perform. Wutong chose Crow Chief to start without hesitation. Who do you think will win between the two? A queen-like voice sounded in the shadows at the entrance of the audience. The little guy named Xiaoxi is very good, and his fighting style is brave enough. A steady male voice responded. Aunt Kona and Uncle Shiba, do you two have to stand in the shadows and watch secretly? We are the 4 heavenly kings, don't act like villains. A cloak fanatic Adu said to Kona and Shiba with a cloak. Xiaodu, it's great that you are very strong. Kikuko said helplessly, while leaning on a cane. She thought her personality was already very weird, but Adu was very reliable when working and facing other people. It's not an exaggeration to say that he is the embodiment of justice. But when the 4 kings of Kanto gathered together, Adu seemed to be liberated from his nature, and he did all kinds of things to kill himself. If he was not strong enough, he would have been beaten to death many times by Zipper and Kona. Of course, I have always been confident in my strength. I must be the strongest, Adu said confidently. Kona's forehead was bulging with veins. She really wanted to fight this guy out now, but there were many spectators. She had to remain elegant. It was so annoying. Zipper didn't seem to care much. It was better to say that he was used to Adu's brainless speeches. At this time, the battle in the battlefield was more important to him. Although the little guy named Xiaoxi is good, he is still not good enough compared to Xianatong. It's a pity that Xianatong didn't fight Xiaomao, Kikuko said sinisterly with a dark aura. At this time, Wutong didn't know that he had been flagged by someone. Pidgeot, Wind. Xiaoxi took the lead in launching an attack with his brave fighting style. Crowhead, Tailwind. Wutong didn't care about Xiaoxi's opening attack and directly let Crowhead stack the buff first. Pie. Pidgeot waved its wings and a storm rolled towards Crowhead. Gap. The airflow on Crowhead flowed around its body, and it didn't mind the wind blowing from Pidgeot. Under the guidance of the tailwind airflow, Crowhead directly rode this storm and rushed straight into the sky. Like to attack? Crowhead, the divine bird is fierce. Wutong shouted directly when he saw Crowhead riding the wind. Gap. Crowhead was covered with orange-yellow light, and he rushed down from the sky at an astonishing speed towards Pidgeot. Pippi. Lightning. Xiaoxi commanded. Pie. Pippi faithfully executed Xiaoxi's orders, regardless of the amazing speed and momentum of Crowhead. Pippi rushed up with a burst of white light and hit Crowhead. Xiaoxi is too reckless. Xiaoxia couldn't help but say in the family and friends seat behind Xiaoxi. Chajitu Aita GP and Xiaoxia's arms waved his two little hands excitedly. Indeed, Xiaoxi is too excited now and doesn't think about anything. He was thinking when he was fighting with Ahang. Xiaogang frowned and said strangely. Pippi and Crowhead collided with each other, but Pippi was knocked away without any surprise. Crowhead malicious pursuit. Wutong did not hold back and directly commanded Crowhead to continue attacking. Crowhead was surrounded by black mist and caught up with Pippi. The crow leader who caught up with Pidgeot flapped his wings vigorously and gave Pidgeot a big blow. Pidgeot was slapped back to Xiaoxi. Pidgeot. Xiaoxi called out worriedly. Pidgeot cried weakly, and then his head fell directly to the ground. His eyes turned into circles and lost his ability to fight. Xiaoxi, show your perseverance. If this is all your strength, I will be very disappointed. Wutong looked at Xiaoxi and said seriously. Chapter 106. After hearing what Wutong said, Xiaoxi, who was so excited, calmed down a little. I'm not just that strong. Pikachu. Let's go. Xiaoxi said to Pikachu beside him. I don't know whether Xiaoxi simply thought Pikachu could win or remembered that the flying system was restrained by the electric system. Pikachu jumped directly from the command platform onto the battlefield, looking at the Crowhead with full spirit. To be honest, Wutong was still a little weak when he saw Pikachu on the field. After all, Pikachu's strength can't be measured normally. God knows whether he met Pikachu, ordinary Pikachu, or was lucky enough to meet Pikachu and give away heads. Crow, Tailwind. No matter what, it's definitely okay to stack buffs first. Pikachu. 100,000 volts. Xiaoxi didn't hesitate at all and rushed in. Pikachu. Chirp. Pikachu's body was covered with lightning, and a thick lightning struck Crow. Crow, take off. Wutong chose to avoid the sharp edge first. Crow heard the command and rushed directly to the sky to avoid Pikachu's 100,000 volts. Is this power normal mode? Crow, Divine Bird Smash. Wutong commanded. Pikachu, Lightning. Xiaoxi commanded. Pikachu started running around the venue with a burst of white light. Crow was covered with orange-yellow light and fell from the sky to Pikachu. Pikachu obviously still had some brains, using Lightning Flash to keep running to avoid Crowhead's attack. The two Pokémon actually started a chase. Pikachu, use Thunder. Xiaoxi saw that the speed of the two Pokémon was slowing down, so he commanded. Crowhead, provoke. Wutong shouted. Pikachu. Pikachu stopped with a sudden break, and the current flowed through Pikachu's body, and the sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds. A hand made of energy appeared above Crowhead's head, and then he stretched out his index finger and hooked it at Pikachu. However, Pikachu directly ignored Crowhead's provocation, without any anger. Provocation failed. Crowhead Brave Bird attack. Wutong frowned, and it was too late to stop it at this time. Crowhead shouted, and turned into a giant energy bird. However, before Crowhead had a chance to act, a thick lightning column fell from the sky. It directly covered most of the battlefield. A plant. Grass. You call this thunder? Wutong knew that Crowhead was doomed when he saw the lightning column falling. The lightning column lasted for 3 seconds before dissipating. After the lightning dissipated, Crowhead, whose body was mostly charred, lay there with black smoke. Crowhead has lost his ability to fight. The referee announced with a small flag. What an amazing power. Has Xiaoxi been hiding his strength? The host Xiaoxi said in surprise. Come back, Crowhead, I'll give you a snack later. You've worked hard. Wutong took back Crowhead helplessly. Swampert, go ahead, please. Wutong thought that maybe only Swampert with ground attributes would not be killed inexplicably. Larger. Swampert still showed off his muscles when he appeared. Okay. Pikachu, let's continue. 100,000 volts. Xiaoxi now only has the fierce attack in his eyes, and directly lets Pikachu continue to attack. Swampert, Mudshot. Wutong directly lets Swampert attack with Pikachu's 100,000 volts. Speaking of which, Xiaozhi seems to not know that his Swampert is a water and ground type, but even if he knew, he might forget it at the beginning. Pikachu was much more normal this time and a lightning bolt struck Swampert. Lag. Swampert waved his two claws, and a piece of mud shot at Pikachu like a bullet. As for the lightning struck by Pikachu, Swampert didn't care at all. After all, he was struck a lot, and he didn't know whether it could cause damage or not. Pikachu was directly hit by a large piece of mud, and fell backwards to the ground. Pikachu. Xiaozhi called out when he saw Pikachu fall to the ground. What's going on? Pikachu's 100,000 volts has no effect at all? Xiaoxia said in disbelief. It seems that Swampert is not only a water type Pokémon, but also has the attribute of a ground type Pokémon to ignore Pikachu's 100,000 volts. The rock type and the ground type have been in the same family since ancient times. Fog. So Xiaogang keenly saw the fact that Swampert has dual attributes. Isn't that a big disadvantage for Pikachu? Xiaoxia couldn't help but say. Pikachu, high speed movement. After finding that the electric skills didn't work, Xiaozhi didn't know how to attack for a while, so he let Pikachu use high speed movement. Pikachu adjusted his posture and rushed towards Swampert with a burst of after images. Pikachu, lightning. Xiaozhi continued to shout. Pikachu, who rushed to Swampert's side with high speed movement, turned into a white light and hit Swampert. Swampert, earthquake. Wutong commanded. Lag. Swampert clenched his two claws together and slammed them hard on the ground. The ground began to shake violently. Pikachu jumped up without Xiaozhi's command. Rock collapse. Wutong said expressionlessly. A huge rock appeared out of thin air above Pikachu's head and then fell straight down. Pikachu was still in a flash at this time, barely dodging the rock, but he couldn't control the direction and lost a chance to attack Swampert. Swampert, ram. Wutong continued to command. Larger. Swampert used all four limbs to ram into Pikachu in midair like a cannonball. Pikachu, get out of the way. Xiaozhi shouted hurriedly. Pikachu. Pikachu in midair twisted his body unscientifically and moved a distance out of thin air. Is this scientific? Question mark? Newton doesn't come out to take care of it? Wutong said speechlessly. Swampert's attack missed, and Pikachu fell back to the ground. Pikachu, Iron Tail. At this time, Xiaozhi remembered that Pikachu also had Iron Tail, so he quickly asked Pikachu to use it. Pikachu jumped directly into the air, with its tail covered in the color of steel, and whipped towards Swampert. Swampert, super strength. Arm hammer. Wutong shouted. Lager. Swampert's body glowed red, and the muscles on his arm bulged as he punched Pikachu. The fist collided with the tail, and this time Swampert had the upper hand and knocked Pikachu to the ground. Pikachu, who was knocked to the ground, was a little angry, and lightning flashed on his body. Swampert, earthquake. Wutong planned to seize the opportunity to send Pikachu away quickly. Lager. Swampert hammered the ground and the ground began to shake. Another thick lightning column fell and directly covered Swampert and Pikachu. Suddenly I want to quit the game. Wutong said speechlessly. The lightning dissipated, and Swampert and Pikachu both fell to the ground, and the two Pokémon lost their ability to fight at the same time. Chapter 107. The battle was won. Pikachu. When Xiaozhi saw that Pikachu had lost its ability to fight, he quickly ran down and picked it up and sent it to Xiaoxia and Xiaogang. Pikachu woke up immediately after returning to Xiaozhi and then called twice to indicate to Xiaozhi that it was fine. Wutong looked at Pikachu, who woke up immediately, and then looked at Swampert, who looked like a dead fish, and felt a headache. Why did Pikachu turn on Pikachu mode when he hit himself? According to Wutong's estimation, how could his Crowhead and Swampert fight against Xiaozhi's 4 Pokémon? If Crowhead was overconfident, it would not be impossible to fight 2 against 6. After all, given Xiaozhi's current situation, he would definitely release Charizard in a fit of rage, which would be almost the same as 2 against 5. As a result, Pikachu directly turned on the Pikachu mode and killed Crow and Swampert with 2 thunders. Is it bad luck today? Wutong frowned and thought. Xiaozhi's Pikachu's amazing performance instantly turned the situation around. Now the two players are back on the same level. The next battle is even more exciting. What kind of surprise will Xiaoxi bring us? Said the host Xiaoi. See, Xianatong, this is my real strength. If your strength is only this level, I will be disappointed. After making sure that Pikachu is fine, Xiaoxi returned to the command desk and shouted to Wutong. Huh. After hearing Xiaoxi's words, Wutong was full of questions. It was obviously Pikachu who was super god. Why do you say it seems that it is all your credit? It's over. Xiaoxi is getting carried away again. Xiaoxia covered her face when she heard Xiaoxi's shout. Chajaduai. Tajipi still waved his hands happily. Pikachu sighed helplessly. Xianatong looks helpless too. Xianagang said to Wutong, who was looking at him with a question mark on his face. Xiaoxi, who was still a rookie trainer, was a little arrogant and often got carried away. After all, Xiaoxi also grew up step by step. Although Wutong could understand all this, why did Wutong feel angry when he saw Xiaoxi's proud look on the opposite side? Really? Then I have to work hard, Wutong said to Xiaoxi with a smile. That guy's angry, Shinji said while looking at the big screen in the waiting room of the players. Yeah, he's angry. Xiaomao nodded in response. If he were to face Xiaozhi like that, he would probably be even angrier. That guy is scary when he's angry. Can you to let me go? My neck hurts when I watch the game like this. Xiaoming in caterpillar mode said. Shifting the view back to the battlefield, Wutong and Xiaoxi called out their third Pokémon at the same time. Squirtle, it's you. Heracross, get ready for battle. We finally saw Wutong's third Pokémon. It's a pink shining Heracross. Speaking of which, the 3 Pokémon Wutong has used so far are all pink. Does Wutong have any special love for pink? The host Xiaoxi said when he saw the Heracross Wutong called out. After hearing what the host Xiaoxi said, Wutong paused. If we don't mention this, we are still good friends. Jenny. As soon as Squirtle appeared, he saw the boss standing on the opposite command platform, stretched out his paw, and waved to greet him. Hey, Xiaoxi, long time no see. After seeing Squirtle, Wutong also waved and greeted him. Then Squirtle and Wutong nodded together in tacit understanding and took out a pair of sunglasses and put them on their faces. After putting on the sunglasses, Squirtle and Wutong gave each other a thumbs up and showed a mouthful of shining white teeth. Not bad. You are also very energetic today, Xiaoxi. After completing the greeting ceremony, Wutong put away the sunglasses and said to Squirtle. Jenny. Squirtle also put away the sunglasses and nodded in response. Hey, Squirtle, you are my Pokémon. Xiaoxi couldn't help saying when he saw that his Squirtle and Wutong were so harmonious. As for Heracross, when he saw that he didn't have to fight for the time being, he took out snacks and ate while watching the show. Johnny. Xiaoxi's voice was heard. After that, Squirtle's expression straightened and he called out to Wutong firmly. Okay, then I'll see how you've improved. Heracross. Missile Needle. Wutong commanded. Heracross, who was suddenly called, quickly stuffed all the food in his hand into his mouth, but he stuffed too much at once and choked. Squirtle? Squirtle looked at Heracross with a troubled face. This Heracross feels so stupid. Xiaoxi also said a little speechlessly. Wutong had already covered his face at this time. It was too embarrassing. He should have let other Pokémon play earlier. Heracross patted his chest hard and finally swallowed it, then called out to Wutong to show that he was fine. Yes, it's good that you're fine. Use Missile Needle. Wutong said perfunctorily without wanting to show his face. Squirtle, we can't lose. Bubble Beam. Xiaoxi shouted. Heracross flew up and stretched out a large number of energy needles from its 2 claws and shot at Squirtle. Squirtle spit out a large string of bubbles at the flying Heracross. The bubbles and energy needles collided and produced a series of explosions. TSK, shouldn't the bubbles be punctured when they encounter needles? Heracross, Seed Machine Gun. Because Wutong doesn't use it often, he almost forgot that Heracross also has this skill. Heracross rushed out of the explosion and spit out a large number of energy bullets. Under the effect of Heracross's flash power, it really feels like a machine gun. Squirtle, Rocket Head Hammer. Xiaoxi decided to rush to the end and commanded, Squirtle. Squirtle's smooth head flashed a ray of light and then rushed directly to Heracross. Unfortunately, Heracross's seed machine gun was too durable and directly blasted Squirtle down. It's over. Xiaoxi has been with Xiaoxi for too long and has lost his mind. Heracross, swallow return. Wutong said helplessly. Hera. The wings on Heracross's back vibrated directly over Squirtle, and then a U-turn brought a burst of white light and hit Squirtle. Then a familiar X appeared, and Squirtle fell directly. Squirtle has lost its ability to fight. Seeing Squirtle fall to the ground with eyes turned into circles, the referee announced, Hera. Heracross shouted spiritedly, and a burst of red light flashed on his body. Heracross's characteristic is also overconfidence, which is why Wutong chose Heracross as the third Pokémon. Come back, Squirtle. Please, Beedrill. Xiaoxi quickly exchanged Pokémon. Beedrill appeared on the field and stared at Heracross. You actually have a brain? I thought Xiaoxi would send Bulbasaur. Wutong said in surprise when he saw Xiaoxi call out Beedrill. However, Wutong still remembered how powerful this Beedrill was. Heracross, Sword Dance. Wutong decided to add a buff first. Hera. Heracross called out, and 4 energy swords appeared around him and rotated around Heracross. Beedrill, Missile Needle. Xiaoxi started to attack as usual. Beedrill's 2 needle-like arms stabbed Heracross in the air, and a piece of energy needle shot out. When Heracross saw the flying energy needles, the sword dance rotated 2 points faster and blocked all the flying energy needles. Heracross, swallow return. Wutong commanded. Heracross rushed towards Beedrill with a burst of white light. Beedrill, move at high speed to dodge. Xiaoxi's feverish head finally calmed down a little, and he began to let Beedrill dodge. Beedrill left a trail of after images and dodged the flying Heracross. However, the focus of Yanfan has never been the first hit. A U-turn, the speed became faster and a burst of white light hit Beedrill. Beedrill's high-speed movement has not stopped at this time, and it barely avoided the attack of Heracross. It's not over yet, Wutong said calmly. Heracross turned 180 degrees again, and increased its speed again to hit Beedrill. This time Beedrill had no way to dodge, and was hit hard by Heracross. Beedrill was knocked directly to the ground. Beedrill, cheer up. Xiaoxi began to cheer. Hearing Xiaoxi's call, Beedrill struggled to stand up. TSK, Heracross, Rock Blast. Wutong commanded. Hera. Heracross shouted, and a large piece of stone appeared and shot at the giant bee. This time, the old non-African Heracross finally won the jackpot, overwhelming the rocks buried Beedrill directly. Beedrill lost its ability to fight. The referee announced as he looked at Beedrill under the rocks. Damn it, Beedrill come back. Xiaoxi reluctantly took back Beedrill. Come on, continue. Wutong looked at Xiaoxi and said he was ready to beat the kid to the end. I won't give up. Xiaoxi said as he took out a Pokeball and hesitated a little. Will Xiaoxi not? Xiaoxia said when she saw Xiaoxi's condition. Will he not want to use Charizard? Xiaogang also said uncertainly. Wutong raised his eyebrows when he saw Xiaoxi's condition. It seemed that Xiaoxi was getting angry again. Please, Charizard. Xiaoxi still couldn't help but call out Charizard. Charizard appeared on the field and lay lazily on the ground without any intention of fighting. Charizard, please, follow my command and fight. Humble Xiaoxi came online and pleaded with Charizard. Raw Charizard used his claws to support his head and spit out a mouthful of sparks. Lanchan screamed, but had no intention of fighting. Xiaoxi, it seems that you still don't have enough control over your Pokémon. Wutong said. Although it was uncomfortable to see Charizard unwilling to fight when watching anime, it was still quite comfortable to be an opponent. Raw. After hearing Wutong's voice, Charizard instantly became energetic, stood up and glared at Wutong. What's going on? Seeing Charizard suddenly jumping up with energy, Wutong was puzzled. Charizard, are you willing to fight? Xiaoxi said in surprise. Raw. Charizard roared at Wutong. You want to fight because you see me? Are you targeting me? Wutong couldn't help but say when he saw Charizard, who was obviously full of fighting spirit. In fact, it's not Charizard's fault that it wants to fight when it sees Wutong. who let Wutong beat it severely when it was still a little Charmander. It also indirectly led to its abandonment. Although it got away from the scum trainer and met Xiaozhi, it didn't delay Charizard's desire to defeat Wutong. So after hearing Wutong's voice, Charizard instantly became energetic. Heracross. Rock Blast. Wutong knew that it was impossible to win without fighting, so he simply commanded Heracross to start fighting. Heracross waved his two claws and shot out a burst of stones. Charizard. Fly up and dodge. Xiaozhi tried to command. Roar. The word dodge does not exist in the dictionary of the old Charizard now, and it directly spit out a mouthful of flames. The flying stones successfully turned into hot rocks under the baptism of Charizard's flames and hit Charizard. Roar. Charizard found that the flames were not working and immediately began to use its tail and claws to smash all the flying stones. Unexpectedly tenacious, Heracross, rush over, close combat. Wutong commanded. Now Heracross has gone through 2 rounds of overconfidence, coupled with the sword dance. Heracross's attack has reached a very high level. Instead of both sides competing with each other, it is better to let Heracross rush over and attack a wave of strong attacks to quickly end the battle. The wings on Heracross's back vibrated and rushed directly to Charizard. Charizard. Spray flames. Xiaozhi still wanted to take the initiative and commanded. Roar. Charizard seemed to have suddenly come to his senses, and after listening to Xiaozhi's command, he shot out a mouthful of flames. Heracross made a Z-shaped move to avoid Charizard's spray flames. He still successfully approached Charizard. When he came to Charizard, Heracross used his whole body to attack Charizard frantically. Whether it was the giant horns on the top of his head or the 2 claws, Heracross used all the places that could be used for attack to attack Charizard desperately. Charizard. Stop it. Earth. Xiaozhi commanded. Charizard held Heracross and took Heracross to the sky. Then the 2 Pokémon fell together and Heracross was thrown directly to the ground. Heracross. Rock Blast. Charizard. Spray flames. Wutong and Xiaozhi shouted at the same time. Heracross, who was thrown to the ground, was too lazy to adjust his posture and directly shot out a large piece of stone. Charizard was not to be outdone and sprayed out a mouthful of flames. The attacks of both sides hit each other at the same time, and then there was a popular explosion. When the smoke of the explosion dissipated, 2 Pokémon that had lost their combat ability at the same time appeared in front of everyone. But everyone knew that Xiaozhi's defeat was doomed. But Wutong looked upset. Why did Xiaozhi's Pokémon always use C when attacking him? Was it targeting him? D Chapter 108. The night was a long time ago, but the night tea party started as usual. In the evening, the same restaurant and the same table, the night tea party started as usual. I say you 3 are too petty, aren't you? You tied me up for so long. I'm in pain all over now. Xiaoming bit his food hard and said resentfully. You have to understand that the mouth is the source of trouble. Wutong said with a straw in his mouth and glanced at Xiaoming. The Pikachu of that guy named Xiaoxia is a bit outrageous. Shinji said suddenly. Ah, indeed, that Pikachu can't be judged according to common sense. Wutong nodded and said, after all, it's Pikachu. By the way, Xiaomeo, don't you go and comfort that guy? After all, you 2 grew up together. Xiaoming asked. Huh, that guy doesn't need comfort, and it's not a terrible defeat for him. He replaced 4 of your Pokémon, and he did it with a team that hadn't evolved most of them. Xiaomao said. Wutong had a headache after hearing what Xiaomao said. In the daytime match, Wutong chose Platypus as his 4th Pokémon. After all, compared to that, the Silver Beedrill and the fossilized Pteranodon were more eye-catching. As a result, although Wutong's Platypus had an advantage in attributes and good abilities, it was replaced by Xiaozhi's Bulbasaur. After watching Bulbasaur withstand several jets of flames without falling, and then replace Platypus with a solar beam, Wutong wanted to apply for a urine test for Xiaozhi's Pokémon. Don't mention it. Xiaozhi can't infer according to common sense. Those who underestimate him will end up in a miserable situation. Wutong said helplessly. Really? Shinji responded calmly, but it was obvious that Xiaozhi had been thoroughly remembered by him this time. You 2 are so peaceful. Okay. Tomorrow is your competition, right? Semifinals, not far from the championship. Xiaoming looked at Wutong and Shinji, who were the same as usual, and asked, "So, X2?" Wutong and Shinji said in unison, Okay, you two are great." Xiaoming shook his head helplessly. "Don't worry, gloomy monster, I will cheer for you tomorrow," Xiaomao said with a smirk. Shinji glared at him directly, and as expected, the two started to quarrel as usual. Wutong and Xiaoming looked at each other and sighed helplessly. At night, in the contestant dormitory, Wutong and Shinji were lying on the bed next to each other. "Tomorrow, you must use all your strength," Shinji suddenly said. "Don't worry, you are my best friend," Wutong replied. "You two, go to bed quickly," Xiaoming, who was sitting in the elderly seat, interrupted. Yes, X2, Wutong and Shinji said perfunctorily. A night passed, and it was the day of the semi-finals. Since there were only 2 games left in the semi-finals, they were held one in the morning and one in the afternoon. The battle between Wutong and Shinji was held in the morning again. Hello, everyone. I'm Xiaozhi, today's host and commentator. Today is the 7th day of the Quartz Conference, and it is also the exciting semi-finals. Xiaozhi, the host, began the pre-match warm-up session. "Then let's invite the players to enter," Xiaozhi, the host, said loudly. Wutong and Shinji also walked in from the player entrances on the left and right sides, and then stepped onto the command platform. Because they had been introduced many times, Xiaozhi, the host, did not introduce the players again this time. Both players are ready. The game begins. The referee waved a small flag to announce the start of the game. "Pidgeot, get ready to fight," Shinji said seriously. "Crowhead, come on." Wutong called out his first Pokémon with a smile. "Pidgeot." Pidgeot came out and shook his flowing hair and called out, "Gap." As soon as the crow leader appeared, he flew high into the sky, declaring his sovereignty. In the semi-finals of the Quartz Conference, the battle of best friends began. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109. The battle started, and the two sides were in chaos. Pidgeot, Tailwind. Crowhead, Tailwind. At the start of the battle, Wutong and Shinji both chose to use Tailwind first. Pidgeot's eyes lit up when he saw Crowhead, and he used Tailwind a point faster. Crowhead looked at Pidgeot with a vigilant look, and then was entangled by a gust of air. Crowhead, Flatter, Bluff, Provoke. Wutong came up and directly used 3 consecutive skills. Gap. Crowhead's operation made Pidgeot's face change constantly, and then his physical attack and special attack were both improved, and he also fell into chaos. It must be said that Crowhead's provocation effect on Pidgeot is outstanding. Pidgeot's eyes turned bloodshot, staring at Crowhead, his beak slightly open with saliva dripping from it. It seems that the effect is too good. It's completely a perverted state, Wutong said as he looked at the state of Pidgeot on the opposite side. "Pidgeot, Brave Bird, Fierce Attack," Shinji commanded calmly. Pidgeot screamed, and his body was covered with white energy and turned into a giant energy bird. But there was a trace of red light flashing in the white energy. Crowhead, Self-Suggestion, Punishment. Wutong threw out the skills that he had hidden for a long time at once. "This is the skill learning machine that I finally bought with the help of my grandparents." Crowhead's pupils shrank, and several purple lights appeared on Crowhead's wings. With the purple light, Crowhead hit Pidgeot with his wings. Flattery and bluffing increased both Pidgeot's special attack and physical attack, while self-suggestion increased Crowhead's ability along with Pidgeot's. The final punishment was that the higher the opponent's attribute ability, the better the damage. After a series of superpositions, Crowhead's attack successfully gained the upper hand. The wings with purple light directly shattered the energy on Pidgeot and then hit Pidgeot. Pidgeot screamed in pain and was slapped to the ground. Pidgeot struggled to fly, but it was still flashing red light. "Is it completely restrained?" Shinji frowned and said. Pidgeot's special feelings for Crowhead made Crowhead's provocative flattery skills ridiculously effective. If it was facing other Pokémon, Pidgeot should have sobered up after being attacked like this, but now Pidgeot is still manic. Crowhead, come again, punishment. Wutong said. Pidgeot, /. Shinji had no intention of taking back Pidgeot, letting Pidgeot fight for the last time. Pidgeot flew up again, and vibrated his wings, and an air blade shot towards Crowhead. Crowhead's wings were covered with purple energy again, and rushed towards Pidgeot. The air blade was directly shattered by Crowhead, and then hit Pidgeot. Pidgeot has lost the ability to fight. The referee looked at Pidgeot and announced, "Come back, Crowhead." Wutong took Crowhead back without hesitation. Shinji also took back Pidgeot, who had lost the ability to fight. Swampert, go. Toto, prepare for battle. Wutong and Shinji released Pokémon at the same time again. This was the way of fighting that the two agreed on privately. No matter who won in each round, both sides would exchange Pokémon together. As for the order of sending Pokémon, it depends on speculation and game. Did you guess it right? Shinji said to himself when he saw Wutong calling out Swampert. TSK, I guessed it. Forget it, Swampert, charge forward. Wutong chose to attack first. Turtle, flying leaf blade to stop it. Shinji commanded. Lagoo. Swampert kicked the ground with all four limbs and crashed into Turtle like a cannonball. Turtle shook the tree on its back, and a rotating leaf flew towards Swampert. Swampert blocked its head with its arms and rushed in front of Turtle with flying leaf blade. Turtle, earthquake. Shinji said when he saw that he couldn't stop Swampert from getting close. Swampert, earthquake. Wutong also commanded. Swampert and Turtle hit the ground at the same time, and the ground began to shake violently. Turtle, mallet. Swampert, ice fist. Shinji and Wutong shouted at the same time. Two vines stretched out from the sides of the turtle's body and intertwined to form a hammer, and then smashed it hard at Swampert. Swampert raised his left arm and held it horizontally above his head to block the hammer of the turtle. The right claw clenched into a fist and was surrounded by a burst of cold air, hitting the turtle with a hint of cold air. Tootie Turtle, ultimate absorption. Bite it. Shinji still remained calm and commanded. The turtle opened its mouth and bit Swampert, and a bright green light flew out and was absorbed by the turtle. The turtle did not let go and bit harder. Larger. Swampert screamed in pain. Swampert, hold on. Continue the freezing punch. Wutong said. Larger's muscles were tense, and he punched the turtle again. The turtle was also very painful from this punch, and couldn't help but let go of his mouth, and took a few steps back. Swampert, arm hammer. Wutong decided to pursue the victory. Larger. Swampert screamed and wanted to catch up and punch again. However, just after taking a step, many vines suddenly sprang out from under Swampert's feet and entangled Swampert tightly. When Wutong was surprised that he didn't notice it. Dote Turtle, mallet. Shinji said calmly. The mallet made of vines appeared again and hit Swampert hard. Swampert has lost his ability to fight, the referee announced after looking at Swampert's status. Shinji and Wutong looked at each other and took back their Pokémon. The two were back on the same starting line again. Chapter 110. The two of them were very excited. I haven't had a chance to have a serious all-out battle with you. I'm so excited now. Wutong said loudly, looking at Shinji. I will win. Shinji responded seriously. At this time, the two of them only thought about one thing, which was to defeat each other. Come out, Beedrill. Nidoking, get ready for battle. Wutong sent out a new Pokémon, and it's another shiny Pokémon. Are all of Wutong's Pokémon shiny? Seeing the silver-bottomed red-striped Beedrill appear, the host Xiaozhi said. Beedrill, move at high speed. Wutong directly ignored the host Xiaozhi's words. After all, he promised Shinji to use all his strength, so Wutong was highly focused at this time. Because of the power of the flash, Beedrill gained the attribute of steel, which made a thin metal shell appear on the outer layer of its body. While strengthening Beedrill's defense, it also affected its speed to a certain extent. Although the impact was small, it was still an impact, so Wutong decisively moved at high speed. Nidoking, gather energy. Shinji commanded with a serious face. Beedrill heard the command and his figure flashed, leaving silver and red after images moving in the field. Nidoking stood still and took a deep breath to concentrate. Beedrill, use Missile Needle. Wutong took the lead. Beedrill had already turned behind Nidoking at this time. With an emergency stop, Beedrill waved its two needle-like arms and shot a piece of energy needle at Nidoking. Nidoking, 100,000 volts. Shinji commanded. Nido. Although Nidoking didn't know where Beedrill was, he still used 100,000 volts obediently under Shinji's training. However, because there was no target, Nidoking's 100,000 volts released electricity randomly in all directions. Some of the missile needles shot from behind Nidoking were shattered by lightning. The remaining part of the missile needles hit Nidoking's back and caused little damage. It did not have any effect on Nidoking, but allowed Nidoking to find the location of Beedrill. Nidoking turned around, lightning appeared on his body again, and a 100,000 volt shot at Beedrill. Beedrill, missile needle. Wutong shouted. Beedrill used it again, and shot out a piece of energy needles. The energy needles and lightning met in the air and exploded. Beedrill, move at high speed, and use double needles. Beedrill's long-range attack methods are really limited. Wutong tried it out, and let Beedrill rush up. Beedrill broke through the smoke, and came to Nidoking in an instant. The two needles on Beedrill's arms flashed with cold light, and stabbed Nidoking quickly and continuously. Nidoking cried out in pain, although the poisoning effect of the double needles did not work on Nidoking. But Nidoking's luck was obviously not very good, and he was hit by Beedrill. And Wutong's Beedrill was a technical master. After a while, the double needles, which originally did not cause high damage, also produced tons of output. Nidoking, cheer up and make a big fuss. Shinji shouted. Nidoking heard Shinji's shout, and forced himself to stabilize his body, and then his eyes turned scarlet. Beedrill, move at high speed, bullet punch. Wutong commanded. Beedrill's speed increased again, dodging Nidoking's attack, while telling him to stab out his needle-like arms. The metal shell generates a lot of heat under high-speed friction, causing waves of heat to appear on Beedrill's body. Using high-speed movement and bullet punch at the same time is an experiment of Wutong. After all, reality is different from games, and Pokémon can use different skills at the same time. Therefore, different skill combinations will also produce very interesting effects, but this will consume Pokémon's physical strength faster. At the same time, if there is a problem with the combination of skills, it will also cause damage to Pokémon itself. And Beedrill's current high-speed movement and bullet punch combination is Wutong's choice after trial, and Wutong is also preparing to continue to improve it based on this, so that Beedrill can have a true ultimate move. As Beedrill's speed gets faster and faster, the temperature of Beedrill's metal shell is getting higher and higher. When it reaches a limit, Beedrill has to stop, and Nidoking has already fallen to the ground. Looking at the scattered in the battlefield, the referee, the steaming Beedrill and the incapable Nidoking, waved his flag and announced, Nidoking has lost his ability to fight. Chapter 111. The battle was won, and the battle was over. Shinji calmly took back Nidoking. He knew that Wutong must have hidden something, but he didn't expect it to be so powerful. It's really beyond my expectation. Shinji said calmly. Of course, I'm very strong. Wutong took back the Beedrill after it had cooled down and responded. It's really your style. Windy Dog, get ready for battle. Shinji shook his head and called out his Pokémon first. A woo. Windy Dog howled when it appeared. Wutong was stunned when he saw Shinji calling out Windy Dog. He felt that Shinji seemed to have learned bad things. This guy Shinji definitely did it on purpose. After all, Wutong only had one choice after seeing Windy Dog, and that was Platypus. After all, these two Pokémon can be said to be the kind of friends who are read as rivals. If the opponent clearly showed the Arcanine and did not let the Platypus appear, this obedient little guy would be very unwilling, even if he did not complain. Therefore, Shinji's Arcanine is a completely open conspiracy. After all, Shinji's Arcanine has the characteristic of attracting fire. I really have no choice. Platypus is left to you. Wutong still called out the Platypus. After all, the mentality of his own children is also very important. Buban Platypus appeared, and the two barrels in his hands sprayed a burst of sparks. Looking at the Arcanine on the opposite side with a serious face, the two old rivals faced each other, and no one wanted to lose. After all, this is not an ordinary training. If you lose here, you will inevitably be ridiculed by the opponent for a long time. Arcanine, move at high speed. Shinji did not hesitate to give full play to the speed advantage of Arcanine. Arcanine barked and rushed towards Platypus with a residual image. I knew you would do this, Platypus. Stomp. Wutong said. Buban. Platypus stomped hard on the ground, and a shockwave was emitted in all directions. The running Arcanine was hit by the shockwave, and its body suddenly paused and slowed down. Because Platypus was always bullied by Arcanine with its speed during training, Wutong taught Platypus this skill. Can you only rush there, Arcanine? Flame Wheel. Shinji saw that the distance was almost right and asked Arcanine to continue to rush. Arcanine's body was covered with flames, and accelerated again and hit Platypus. Platypus, come again, stomp. Skills are good, as long as they are useful. Wutong did not hesitate to let Platypus use stomp again. Platypus stomped on the ground again, and another shockwave was emitted in all directions. Jump up. Shinji commanded as expected. Arcanine jumped up to avoid the shockwave of the heavy stomping, and crashed into Platypus from the air. Platypus, lightning punch. Platypus raised his arm, and lightning flashed on his fist and hit Arcanine. Mount A is pressing down on me. Shinji revealed his true intention. Arcanine stretched out his limbs, and pressed down on Platypus with the weight of his whole body. Platypus did not have the super strong muscles and strange power of Swampert, and Shinji's Arcanine was much stronger, because of the food. So Platypus was directly pressed to the ground. Lightning Fang. Shinji planned to take Platypus away in one wave without pausing. It's not that easy, Platypus. Spray flames at the ground with all your strength. Wutong shouted. Buban. Platypus aimed its two barrel arms at the ground, and sprayed flames with all its strength. Under the reaction force of the sprayed flames, Platypus directly knocked Arcanine away, and regained its ability to move. Troublesome guy. Windy Dog. Super speed. Shinji frowned and said. Ouch. Windy Dog twisted its body in the air, and landed steadily on the ground, and then turned into a residual image, and crashed into Platypus. Platypus, explosive fist, sonic fist. Wutong shouted. Buban. White light gathered on Platypus fist, and all the strength of the body and mind gathered on this punch. Then this punch hit forward at a speed exceeding the speed of sound. With a muffled bang, Windy Dog and Platypus collided with each other. The two Pokémon flew backwards at the same time. Ouch. Buban. Windy Dog and Platypus both staggered and forced themselves to stabilize their bodies, but their eyes were fixed on each other. Then the two Pokémon couldn't hold on at the same time, and both fell to the ground, and lost their ability to fight. Platypus, Windy Dog lost their ability to fight at the same time. The referee immediately announced the result. Is it a draw? Wutong took back Flammable, and muttered to himself. Come back, Arcanine, we have to double the training in the future. Shinji took back Arcanine and said coldly. After all, Arcanine should have a lot of advantages, but the result was a draw. With Shinji's competitive spirit, he naturally couldn't be satisfied. Really strict. Wutong shook his head after hearing what Shinji said, and mourned for Arcanine for 3 seconds. You are too doting on your Pokémon, knowing that I called Arcanine out first, so that you would send Flammable to play. Shinji looked at Wutong and said. Yes, Heracross, please. Wutong replied perfunctorily, and released the fourth Pokémon first. You guys, go, Beast. Shinji also called out his next Pokémon. Giru. Beastba shouted spiritedly when it came out. Speaking of which, there was no child in the bag of Shinji's Beastba. It is estimated that either the little marsupial has grown up and left the marsupial, or this marsupial has not found a partner yet. However, because there is no child yet, Shinji's marsupial is very lively and a little belligerent and irritable. I thought you would send Gyarados. Wutong teased. Humph, I didn't forget that you still have a scary guy to send. Shinji replied. Forget it, Heracross, sword dance. Wutong began to let Heracross stack buffs. Marsupial, high 5 surprise attack. Shinji chose to break the move. 4 energy swords appeared around Heracross, but they did not start to rotate. The marsupial slapped its claws, and a shock wave was sent out, interrupting Heracross's sword dance. Affected by the high 5 surprise attack, Heracross fell into a state of shrinking. Heracross, if you shrink again, the snacks will be reduced by half in the future. Wutong shouted directly when he saw the shrinking Heracross. Hera. Hearing Wutong's shout, Heracross came back to his senses instantly. Flames burned in his eyes, and all creatures that affected his food would be destroyed. Wutong nodded with satisfaction as he looked at Heracross, whose fighting spirit was burning. He didn't expect that he had also mastered a kind of idealistic fighting method. Heracross, another sword dance. Wutong continued to let Heracross stack buffs. Buccaneering, 100,000 volts. Shinji shouted. Buccaneering's 100,000 volts was learned by learning Nidoking's skills. The skill learning machine in reality is not a disposable item. It can be used repeatedly, which also makes the price of the skill learning machine higher than that in the game. However, it is not without restrictions. If a skill learning machine is used many times, the effect will become worse and worse, and eventually it will be impossible for Pokémon to learn skills. Shinji let Buccaneering learn based on the principle that it can't be wasted after buying it, which can be regarded as expanding the attack surface of Buccaneering. Galoo. The marsupial screamed, and a flash of lightning flashed on its body, and a bolt of lightning struck Heracross. At this time, the energy sword beside Heracross had begun to rotate. Facing the lightning that struck, Giant Wu blocked it outside. However, the energy sword also became much dimmer. Heracross, rush over. Close combat. Wutong said. Hera. The wings on Heracross's back vibrated and flew towards the marsupial. Then Heracross began to use his whole body to attack the marsupial. Marsupial, hold on. Shinji said calmly. Galoo. The marsupial crossed his arms in front of his chest, and a faint red light appeared on his body as he endured Heracross's attack. At this time, Heracross could no longer stop, and used close combat to attack the marsupial continuously. Gradually, the speed of Heracross's attack began to slow down, and the close combat was about to stop. Almost. Marsupial, come back to life. Shinji commanded when he saw the right time. Geru. The long-suffering marsupial roared, and its claws glowed. He clenched his claws into fists, and began to fight back against Heracross. This fighting style is too desperate, Wutong said helplessly. As the marsupial's attack ended, Heracross's eyes turned into circles, and fell to the ground. Heracross has lost his ability to fight, the referee announced with a sense of presence. This guy, it seems that you don't train enough in normal times. You should double your training in the future. Wutong took back Heracross and said. Wind speed dog, extra training teammates +1. Well, it's the last round. Wutong looked at Shinji and said. Well, it's the last round. Shinji nodded and replied. Come out, fossil pterosaur. Gyarados, get ready for battle. Roar. X2 with two roars. The two people with dragons in their names, but who have nothing to do with dragons. Pokémon appeared in the battlefield. However, these two Pokémon have another common feature, that is, they are both flying type. I believe that they must have a place in the team of the flying type king in the Kanto region. Adu, I'm not. I don't have one. Don't talk nonsense. I'm the dragon type king. Wutong released his sixth Pokémon. It turned out to be the fossil Pokémon that was recently reported to be discovered, the fossil pterosaur. And it is also a shiny Pokémon. What exactly is Wutong? It's really curious. The host Xiaozhi said excitedly. Humph, I'm just a Pokémon trainer who is interested in it, Wutong said. Gyarados, water cannon. Shinji directly commanded Gyarados to launch an attack. You actually sneak attacked. Fossil pterosaur, move at high speed. Wutong shouted hurriedly. Gyarados raised his head and shot out a thick column of water. The fossil pterosaur flashed, and its speed increased sharply to avoid Gyarados' water cannon. It's my turn to overpower the opponent with speed. Fossil pterosaur, tailwind. Wutong continued to shout. Roar. The fossil pterosaur shouted, and the airflow wrapped around the wings of the fossil pterosaur, and the speed of the fossil pterosaur increased again. At this time, only the after images left by the fossil pterosaur could be seen on the scene. Gyarados, tornado. Shinji commanded calmly. Roar. If the water can't catch up with the fossil pterosaur, then open a full screen attack. Gyarados roared, and 4 tornadoes soared into the sky and rolled in the battlefield. The airflow in the air became chaotic because of the appearance of the tornado. The airflow on the high-speed flying fossil pterosaur was also affected and lost its balance, and its body shook. This speed is about the same. Fossil Pterosaur, hold steady ultimate impact. Wutong planned to end the battle quickly. Roar. The fossil pterosaur adjusted the airflow on its body, and the flight returned to stability, and the speed increased again. Then a white energy appeared above the head of the fossil pterosaur, and then the white energy began to rotate, and spread out to block the front half of the fossil pterosaur. The fossil pterosaur turned into a white light, and crashed into Gyarados. Gyarados, make a scene. Shinji knew that Gyarados had no way to lock onto the attack of the fossil pterosaur, so he might as well attack at will. Roar. Gyarados' eyes turned scarlet, and then began to twist his body and attack the air nearby crazily. At this time, the fossil pterosaur had also crashed over, and hit Gyarados' abdomen. Gyarados' tail just happened to slap over, and hit the head of the fossil pterosaur. Gyarados was instantly knocked away. The fossil pterosaur also fell to the place where Gyarados was just now. At this time, Gyarados was hit hard, and tried to get up with difficulty. The fossil pterosaur was in a state of stiffness due to the side effects of the ultimate impact. Now it depends on which side can recover the ability to move first. Fossil pterosaur, dragon breath. Wutong shouted. Roar. With strong will, the fossil pterosaur gained control of its body, and a blue-white beam of light shot out, and hit Gyarados directly. Gyarados, who had struggled to get up, fell down again after being attacked. This time, Gyarados lost consciousness. Gyarados lost the ability to fight. The referee announced immediately. Did you lose? Shinji muttered to himself. I admit defeat. After a moment, Shinji took back Gyarados, and said to the referee. Shinji actually admitted defeat. The referee confirmed it again. Yes, Shinji has confirmed that he has admitted defeat. Let us congratulate Wutong for entering the finals. The host Xiaozhi said excitedly. What a pity, I couldn't have a 6v6 match with Wutong. Xiaomao said regretfully in the friends and relatives seat behind Shinji. As for Shinji's admission of defeat, he was not surprised. After all, he also knew the game method agreed by Wutong and Shinji. And even without this agreement, with the state of Shinji's remaining Pokémon, there is no hope of winning. What a pity. Xiaomao said as he looked at Shinji who was walking down. Nothing to regret. After all, I can still compete for the third place, right? The top 16. Shinji glanced at Xiaomao and said. You guy, the next time I win, it must be me, Xiaomao. Xiaomao said angrily. Humph, the cry of a loser. Shinji said and walked towards the players' waiting room. Xiaomao immediately chased after him, and the two of them started arguing again as expected. Did I win? Then I'll wait for my opponent in the afternoon finals to appear. Wutong took back the fossil pterosaur, and muttered to himself. Wutong also returned to the players' waiting room. No matter who his opponent in the finals was, he had to win the championship, otherwise this reborn person would not be able to win. Isn't that quite embarrassing? Chapter 112. The first time, the second time. Written at the beginning, Wutong's opponent in the final is not Binkuo's original character, but the protagonist of the first Pokémon fanfiction that Binkuo read. This is just to commemorate Binkuo's past memories. He will not appear again after this appearance, so please feel free to watch. By the way, those who can recognize this protagonist should also be old bookworms. After all, Binkuo read it more than 10 years ago. It is also because of this book that Binkuo has always had the idea of writing a Pokémon fanfiction himself. Although this idea has been more than 10 years, the following is the text. In the Quartz Stadium, the second semi-final game started in the afternoon. In the audience, Wutong, Shinji, Xiaomao, and Xiaoming sat in a row to watch the game together. As the battle progressed, Wutong's expression became more and more serious. The situation on the field was not complicated, and one side was obviously stronger than the other. Your expression is so serious. Although Xiaoxia is very strong, he shouldn't make you show such an expression. Shinji noticed that Wutong's expression was wrong and asked. No, I just remembered that I don't have a display cabinet for displaying trophies at home. After hearing what Shinji said, Wutong raised his eyebrows and said, huh, is that so? If you don't want to say it, forget it. Shinji saw through Wutong's lie and said, hey, Xiaomao, didn't you collect the information of the players? Why haven't you heard about this guy? Xiaoming asked Xiaomeo beside him. I didn't collect any information about this guy at all. It's like he appeared out of thin air, but there are always a few low-key trainers that I didn't care about, and I forgot about it after the game started. Xiaomeo also said seriously. As confident as Xiaomeo, he also found that he didn't have a high chance of winning against this guy named Xiaoxian. Hey, boss, it looks like you'll have a tough battle tomorrow. Do you have any trump cards? Xiaoming asked Wutong. Of course I don't have that kind of thing, Wutong shrugged helplessly. Shinji, Xiaomao and Xiaoming all looked at Wutong with disbelief. The game ended quickly, and Xiaoxian did not stay for long, and took back his Pokémon, and left the battlefield. But if this guy named Xiaoxian only showed this strength, it shouldn't be a big problem for you, right? Although I don't want to admit it, you are stronger than all of us. Xiaomao said a little unwillingly. You overestimate me, and that guy definitely hides his strength. Wutong said helplessly. Although Xiaoxian also sent out 6 Pokémon in the previous game, if this Xiaoxian is really the Xiaoxian in Wutong's memory, his trump card didn't even play, and he didn't hide one. As for what Xiaomeo said, he is stronger than them now, which is true, but this is only achieved by relying on the flash power of his Pokémon and better physical fitness. After all, Wutong has been frantically laying the foundation for Swampert and others because of various trainings during this nearly 1-year trip. Various technical training plans have not yet begun. Wutong originally thought that this would be enough for the gold content of this quartz conference, but he didn't expect that a dark horse Xiaoxian would appear. Wutong is also very uncomfortable now. It seems that he needs to cram for the last minute. At night, Wutong skipped the night tea party and ran to a secluded place to study the ultimate move. Shinji, Xiaomeo and Xiaoming were also helpless. Did Wutong practice the ultimate move temporarily? Time passed quickly and came to the finals of the quartz conference. Wutong, who arrived at the contestant waiting room early, did not see Xiaoxian, so he had a lot of questions, but had no place to vent. Dear audience friends. Hello everyone. I'm Xiaozhi, today's host and commentator. Finally, our finals are here. I think everyone can't wait, so without further ado, please invite the players to enter. Xiaozhi's voice lingered in the audience. Wutong took a deep breath to calm himself down, then walked into the battlefield and stood on the command platform. He looked across, but didn't see Xiaoxian. Then Wutong felt the space on the opposite command platform distorted, and a Sunny V standing on Xiaoxian's shoulder appeared on the command platform. Sorry, I was delayed for a while, because of a personal matter, Xiaoxian said to the referee. Both players are in place. The game, start. The referee nodded to Xiaoxian and announced the start of the game. After all, it's the finals, so the referee's tolerance is still very high. Sunny V, please. Xiaoxian said to the Sunny V on his shoulder. Buai Sunny V called out and instantly appeared in the battlefield. Really, I seem to be underestimated, but it doesn't matter, go, Crowhead. Seeing that the opponent had no defense and went on the first Pokémon first, Wutong covered his face and said helplessly. Then Wutong raised his head, his pupils had shrunk like a beast, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but smile, and he casually threw out the Pokéball and released Crowhead. It's been a long time since I saw him in that state, Xiaoming said, looking at Wutong on the field. Indeed, Shinji replied calmly. From his appearance, he didn't deliberately suppress himself this time. This kind of belligerent character is really a bit like Grandpa Raccoon, Xiaomeo said, looking at Wutong. Grandpa Raccoon? Wutong's grandfather? Shinji asked subconsciously. That's right. According to my grandfather, among his good friends, the one who liked Pokémon battles the most was Grandpa Quan, and his fighting style was very ferocious, but he became a good-tempered grandfather after he got older. Xiaomao said. Solverine, high-speed star. Xiaoxian did not intend to exchange Pokémon and directly let Solverine start attacking. Seeing Solverine's choice of attack method, Wutong became more and more certain. You know, in the first part, there was no concept of darkness being immune to psychic skills. As a result, the opponent did not use the psychic skill that Solverine was best at, but chose high speed star. This obviously knew the attributes of Crowhead and the restrained relationship between darkness and psychic. Crowhead, dodge with the wind. Wutong still started the game by stacking buffs steadily. Gap. Crowhead cried, and the airflow wrapped around his body, and the speed suddenly increased to dodge the energy star flying over. Solverine, self-suggestion. Xiaoxia commanded. Buai. A ray of light flashed on the body of Sunny V, and the speed of Sunny V suddenly increased. Crowhead, bluff, flatter, and provoke. After stacking the buff, Wutong still used 3 consecutive skills. In any case, as long as this set of skills hits, half the battle is won. Gap. Crowhead made exaggerated movements in the air and provoked Sunny V while shouting. Sunny V, teleport, don't look at it. Xiaoxia continued to command. Sunny V simply closed his eyes and began to teleport irregularly on the field. Gap. Crowhead was stunned, and the opponent ignored it at all. Can it be cracked like this? Forget it. Crowhead, sneak attack the vital point. Wutong commanded. Gap. Crowhead was surrounded by a black mist and rushed towards Sunny V. Get out of the way. Xiaoxia calmly commanded. After Crowhead approached Sunibra teleported away. I guessed it. Crowhead, swallow return. Wutong commanded. Gap. Crowhead made a U-turn and hit Sunibra at a faster speed. Sunibra, who was still in a teleportation stiffness, was hit directly. Malicious pursuit. Wutong said. Crowhead's speed increased again and hit Sunibra again. Sunibra lost its combat ability directly. Are you still going to hide? Wutong asked. Xiaoxia was stunned and then smiled. No, I'm going to do my best. Xiaoxia said. The second round is about to begin. Chapter 113. The battle was over, but the battle was over. Pidgeot, please. Xiaoxia sent out his second Pokémon, which was Pidgeot, which also had air combat capabilities. Pidgeot. Wutong frowned when he saw Xiaoxia's choice. If I remember correctly, Xiaoxia's Pidgeot had some buggy abilities. Pidgeot, Tornado. Xiaoxia launched a strong attack right away. Pidgeot. Pidgeot shouted and flapped his wings, and a tornado soared into the sky and rolled towards Crowhead. Crowhead, take off with the wind. Wutong said. Gap. Crowhead was surrounded by air currents and took off at high speed, directly out of the tornado's attack range. Pidgeot, move at high speed, catch up. Xiaoxia commanded. Pidgeot. Pidgeot's figure twisted and chased at a very fast speed. Crowhead divine bird strike. Wutong decisively counterattacked. Gap. After Crowhead rose to a certain height, a layer of orange-yellow light covered his body. Then Crowhead turned around and hit Pidgeot. Pidgeot, high-speed lightning. Xiaoxia suddenly shouted. Pidgeot. Pidgeot dragged a white light and the speed climbed again. Sure enough, my guess was right. After hearing Xiaoxia's command, Wutong was completely sure. The so-called high-speed lightning is a skill that Xiaoxia asked Pidgeot to combine with lightning and high-speed movement. You should know that fusion and combination are completely two concepts. Fusion is to combine the properties of two skills and greatly improve the effect at the same time. But the consumption of physical strength and power is also doubled. Combination is nothing more than using two or more skills at the same time or in succession, and different effects are achieved by the compatibility of each skill. Pidgeot and Crowhead collided with each other, and the two Pokémon flew backwards at the same time. High-speed lightning has come out, so 100,000 volts should not be far away. Crowhead, make trouble. Wutong first muttered to himself, and commanded after seeing Crowhead stabilize. Ga ga ga, ga. Crowhead began to shout after hearing the command. Pie? Pidgeot showed a troubled look after hearing Crowhead's cry, and then nodded helplessly. Is this how it feels to use unreasonable trouble? Wutong said a little speechlessly. Make trouble is one of the skills he prepared last night, which can prevent the opponent's Pokémon from using the same skill continuously. And now facing Pidgeot who had just used high-speed lightning, it is equivalent to sealing two skills at once. Pidgeot, ultimate impact. Xiaoxia continued to launch a fierce attack. Crow leader, brave bird, attack. Seeing that Xiaoxia was determined to keep attacking, Wutong was also happy to accompany him and commanded Crow leader to attack. B. Pidgeot was covered by a rotating white light and rushed towards Crow leader. Gap. Crow leader was not to be outdone and turned into a giant energy bird and rushed over. After a burst of explosions, Pidgeot and Crowleader both fell to the battlefield with injuries. At this time, Pidgeot was in a state of stiffness due to the side effect of the ultimate impact. Crowleader, wind up. Wutong commanded. Gap. Crowleader dragged his body to fly up, and then his wings flashed, and a storm swept towards Pidgeot. Pidgeot, 100,000 volts. Xiaoxia said calmly. B. Pidgeot's recovery speed was unexpected, and a lightning bolt struck Crowleader. The two Pokémon used their combat abilities at the same time. You don't look surprised at all, Xiaoxia asked curiously when he saw Wutong's calm look. After all, it's hard to imagine that Pidgeot used 100,000 volts. Of course, after all, you are my idol. Wutong shrugged and said. Really? That's really embarrassing. It seems that I have to work harder. After hearing Wutong's words, Xiaoxia was stunned and replied with a smile. Come out, fossil pterosaur. Wutong did not respond, but released the next Pokémon. Fossil pterosaur? It seems that you really know me well. In this case, go, fossil pterosaur. Xiaoxia saw that Wutong was making a clear statement and decisively responded to Wutong's expectations. Roar. X2 accompanied by two roars. Two fossil pterosaurs of different colors appeared on the field. It's so surprising that Xiaoxia also has a fossil pterosaur. It seems that this will be a battle beyond time and space. The host Xiaoxia said loudly. Roar just as everyone present was amazed. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur suddenly shouted at Wutong's fossil pterosaur. Then it began to dance strangely at Wutong's fossil pterosaur. Roar. Wutong's fossil pterosaur roared with disdain. Is this the way fossil pterosaurs court? In the audience, Professor Oak said excitedly. Then he took out a notebook from somewhere and started to record quickly. Drive Oak's painting skills are still so good. Hanako said when she saw Dr. Oak's actions. If I had known earlier, I would have caught a fossil pterosaur. Xiaoxi said regretfully. Hanako and Dr. Oak came to cheer for Xiaoxi when he entered the top 16. Fortunately, they had nothing to do and simply stayed to watch the game. And Dr. Oak was very glad that he stayed, and he could actually see the scene full of research significance with his own eyes. If Swampert sees this, he might go berserk. Wutong said to himself as he looked at the fossil pterosaur that was jumping vigorously opposite him. Chapter 114. The old man was so angry that he was in a bad mood. Xiaoxia didn't expect his fossil pterosaur to be like this, and he was a little stunned for a moment. Roar. Wutong's fossil pterosaur felt a little impatient and roared at Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur saw that the other party was so determined, and a blazing fire of conquest ignited in his eyes. Roar. Since the courtship dance didn't work, let's use another way. The second way of pairing fossil pterosaurs in ancient times was to knock the other party unconscious and then forcibly take them back as partners. Are they so irritable in ancient times? Wutong couldn't help but say after hearing the roar of Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur and understanding the meaning. Roar. Wutong's fossil pterosaur also screamed in shock and anger. If I don't show my power, you think I'm a Magikarp, right? Before Wutong could give orders, violent airflow wrapped around the fossil pterosaur, and then Wutong's fossil pterosaur's wings lit up and crashed into Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur. Under Wutong's training, the fossil pterosaur has become accustomed to driving downwind before fighting. Fossil pterosaur, ultrasonic. Xiaoxia commanded. Roar. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur roared and distorted the air. Wutong's fossil pterosaur stopped halfway because of the influence of ultrasonic waves. Obviously, Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur has been trained with ultrasonic waves, which are no longer just the original chaotic effect. Roar. Wutong's fossil pterosaur roared uncomfortably. Fossil pterosaur, move at high speed and ram. Xiaoxia continued to command. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur increased its speed and used all its strength to crash into Wutong's fossil pterosaur. The fossil pterosaur wakes up, bite it to pieces. Wutong shouted. Roar. Wutong's fossil pterosaur mustered up his spirit, opened his mouth and bit Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur fiercely. Bite its neck. Xiaoxia commanded calmly. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur came later and bit Wutong's fossil pterosaur on the neck. The neck of the fossil pterosaur was not particularly long, and it was severely restricted after being bitten. Wutong's fossil pterosaur's bite was directly interrupted. Fossil Pterosaur, Dragon Claw. Xiaoxia continued to keep his fossil pterosaur suppressed. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur's 2 claws were covered with blue-purple energy and began to tear Wutong's fossil pterosaur. Fossil pterosaur, primitive power. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur strength was beyond his expectations, and Wutong had to start thinking about ways to break the situation. Roar. Wutong's fossil pterosaur roared unwillingly, and a wave of energy was released. A piece of rubble appeared around, and the rubble surrounded the 2 fossil pterosaurs and smashed towards the center without distinguishing between friend and foe. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur had to open its mouth, and Wutong's fossil pterosaur finally regained its freedom. Fossil pterosaur, ultimate impact. Xiaoxia obviously didn't want to give Wutong's fossil pterosaur a chance to rest. Roar. A rotating white light appeared in front of Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur and hit Wutong's fossil pterosaur. Fossil pterosaur, move at high speed. Wutong chose to avoid it first. Wutong's fossil pterosaur suddenly increased its speed and began to dodge. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur didn't want to be avoided like this. Even if it was not flexible enough, it made a big circle and continued to hit Wutong's fossil pterosaur. Wutong's fossil pterosaur, which kept dodging, gradually became irritable. Fossil pterosaurs were originally Pokémon with bad tempers. A fire began to burn in the heart of the fossil pterosaur, and it had never suffered such grievances. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. The fossil pterosaur exploded. Roar. After dodging the ultimate impact again, Wutong's fossil pterosaur roared, and changes appeared on his body. The horns on the top of his head slightly stretched and were covered with black matter, and several black dots appeared on the tail. A circle of black rocks also appeared around the mouth, as if Wutong's fossil pterosaur was wearing a pair of hideous teeth. What is this? Super evolution? No, it's not quite the same. Wutong muttered to himself when he saw the changes in his fossil pterosaur. Fossil pterosaur, rush over, lightning teeth. Wutong felt that practice was the best way to know the truth, so he turned the fossil pterosaur around and started to attack. Roar. Wutong's fossil pterosaur roared, lightning flashed on his mouth, and he opened his mouth wide, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth and a layer of black rocks on the outside that looked like fangs. Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur saw that Wutong's fossil pterosaur finally stopped dodging and had no intention of dodging at all, so he ran over directly. At this time, Wutong's the pterosaur was completely crazy and bit the root of Xiaoxia's pterosaur. Bite it. Wutong continued. Dragon Claw. Xiaoxia also commanded. Wutong's pterosaur exerted force on its upper and lower jaws again, and the sharp teeth flashing with lightning directly pierced into the wings of Xiaoxia's pterosaur. A crisp sound of bone breaking was heard. One claw of Xiaoxia's pterosaur was bitten and could not move, and the claw on the other side was covered by blue-purple energy and grabbed Wutong's pterosaur. Fossil pterosaur, Dragon Breath. Wutong also saw that his pterosaur was determined and could find a way to end the battle as soon as possible. Wutong's pterosaur still did not let go, and a strong breath was sprayed out directly. An explosion appeared directly on the 2 pterosaurs. Before the smoke dissipated, the 2 pterosaurs fell down and fell to the ground. After falling to the ground, Wutong's fossil pterosaur struggled to raise its head and looked at Xiaoxia's fossil pterosaur. After seeing that the other party could not move, Wutong's fossil pterosaur lost consciousness directly. Should I arrange some psychological courses for the fossil pterosaur when I go back? It's too irritable. Wutong took back his fossil pterosaur and said to himself. Xiaoxia looked at his fossil pterosaur, which was still somewhat conscious, but had no ability to move, and his face became serious. This was basically a forced replacement, and Xiaoxia was now at a great disadvantage. Arcane, come out. Xiaoxia took back the fossil pterosaur and called out his 4th Pokémon. Placentor, come out. Wutong also called out his 3rd Pokémon at the same time. Bubon. Platypus blew out a burst of sparks and shouted. Abu. Arcane roared at Platypus as soon as it appeared. Platypus unconsciously took a half step back. It's really the intimidation tray. Flamma Beast big word explosion. Wutong started to attack directly. Bubon. Flamma Beast raised its claws, and a fireball spurted out of the cannon-like hole. The fireball spread out into a big word shape halfway and hit the wind speed dog. Wind speed dog, big word explosion. Xiaoxia chose to fight hard. Woo. Wind speed dog also shot out a fireball, and then the fireball also spread out into big words. The two big words of flame collided in the air and produced an explosion. Wind speed dog, super speed. Xiaoxia still chose to play the speed advantage of wind speed dog. Wind speed dog left a residual image on the spot and rushed into the smoke produced by the explosion. Flammer beast stomps. Wutong commanded. Buban. A wave appeared, and the smoke on the field was blown away directly. Xiaoxia has been deliberately cultivating the ability of his Pokémon to fight independently, so Wind Speed Dog jumped up as soon as it felt the energy fluctuation. Duck Build Flame Beast, Rock Blockade. Wutong commanded when the time was right. Buban. The Duck Build Flame Beast raised its claws, and a wave of stones fell. However, the Wind Speed Dog, which was in a super speed state, dodged the falling rocks and crashed into the Duck Build Flame Beast. Duck Build Flame Beast, continue the rock blockade. Wutong did not think that a super speed attack would make the Duck Build Flame Beast lose its combat ability and continued to command. Buban. The Duck Build Flame Beast faithfully executed Wutong's instructions. The rock blockade was used again, and another piece of stone fell. Wind Speed Dog, dodge. Xiaoxia commanded. Wind Speed Dog flexibly dodged the stones falling from the sky. However, as more and more stones fell, there was no place suitable for sprinting on the field. Wind Speed Dog, big word explosion, blow these stones away. Xiaoxia also saw that the situation was not right and commanded. Woo. Wind Speed Dog burst out a fireball. The flames exploded on the ground in a big letter shape, blowing away many rocks. Duck Build Flame Beast, stomp. Wutong couldn't let the Windy Dog go on. The original purpose was to hinder the speed of the Windy Dog. If the other party continued to go on, all the previous efforts would be in vain. Buban. The Duck Build Flame Beast stomped its feet fiercely, and a shockwave flew out. Windy Dog, Flame Wheel. Xiaoxia chose to let the Windy Dog continue to get close. The Windy Dog was covered with flames, and then turned into a flaming wheel, and crashed into the Duck Build Flame Beast. Duck Build Flame Beast, Explosion Fist. Wutong shouted. Buban. The Duck Build Flame Beast aimed at the rushing Windy Dog, and hit it with all its strength. However, the Windy Dog understood, and dodged the Duck Build Flame Beast's Explosion Fist, and crashed into the Duck Build Flame Beast. This speed is too troublesome. Duck Build Flame Beast, Ghost Face. Wutong commanded. Duck Build Flame. The beast adjusted its body shape, and a black ghost face appeared behind it, showing an evil smile to the Wind Speed Dog. The Wind Speed Dog trembled all over, obviously frightened. Duck Build Flame Beast, Rock Blockade. Wutong continued to command. Buban. The Duck Build Flame Beast stretched out its claws, and another piece of stone fell. Wind Speed Dog, get out of the way. Xiaoxia shouted. However, due to the influence of the ghost face, the speed of the Wind Speed Dog paused, and this time the rock blockade finally hit. Duck Build Flame Beast, stomp, earthquake. Seeing the right time, Wutong shouted hurriedly. Buban. The Duck Build Flame Beast raised its right foot high, covered with earth yellow energy, and then stomped hard on the ground. Accompanied by a shockwave, the ground began to shake violently. Ouch. The Wind Speed Dog roared in pain after being attacked by a double attack. Wind Speed Dog, hold on, come back to life. Xiaoxia shouted. Ouch. Windy Dog tried to stand up, and several blue and white spots of light circled around Windy Dog twice, and then entered its body. Then Windy Dog rushed towards Platypus with amazing momentum, as if all the injuries on its body had healed. Platypus, Sonic Fist. This time it was Wutong's turn to overpower others with speed. Platypus swung its fist and hit Windy Dog with an afterimage. There was a muffled sound, and Windy Dog and Platypus both flew backwards. After a while, Platypus struggled to get up, and Windy Dog completely lost its ability to fight. It seems that I'm in danger. Xiaoxia took back Windy Dog and said. Wutong didn't say anything. What about Xiaoxia? Of course he couldn't be weak. After all, he was the protagonist. It's just that Xiaoxia and Wutong have a huge information gap. Let alone the differences between Wutong and Xiaoxia. There is also a huge difference in their understanding of each other's strength. Xiaoxia had no trump cards against Wutong. Wutong knew all the lineups and hidden skills. Since he knew it would be much easier to target him, it made Wutong look like he had a huge advantage in the battle. I don't want to lose like this, Gyarados, please. Xiaoxia exchanged Pokémon directly. Roar. Gyarados roared angrily when he appeared. The physical attack of Platypus was reduced again. Gyarados, water cannon. Xiaoxia planned to get rid of Platypus as soon as possible and not give Wutong a chance to exchange Pokémon. Platypus, flame wheel, go over. Wutong commanded calmly. Of course, he guessed that Xiaoxia planned to get rid of Platypus first. Platypus had completed its mission after defeating Arcanine. So Wutong simply let it fight to the end. Bubon. Platypus turned into flame wheel and crashed into Gyarados. Gyarados twisted its head and chased Flammable with water cannon. Flammable was hit by the water cannon after all, and the flames on its body were extinguished. Flammable, Thunder Punch. Wutong shouted when he saw that the distance was almost right. Bubon. Flammable struggled and punched Gyarados, but the weak current did not cause any trouble to Gyarados. Gyarados was very unhappy with the current and swung his tail to slap Flammable away. Is it still not working? Wutong said after taking back Flammable. In that case, Beedrill, go ahead. Wutong also decisively exchanged Pokémon. Beedrill appeared in the air of the battlefield, rubbed two long needles twice, and a hint of coldness flashed across its two needle-like arms. Gyarados, Dragon's Fury. Xiaoxia knew that Gyarados was inconvenient to move on land, so he simply turned it into a turret. Roar. Gyarados roared and shot out a blue-white beam of light. Beedrill, move at high speed, double needles. Wutong commanded. Beedrill increased its speed and rushed towards Gyarados. The flexible Beedrill dodged Gyarados' attack and got close to Gyarados. Two needle-like arms flashed with cold light and stabbed Gyarados. Gyarados, Tornado. Xiaoxia commanded. Roar. Gyarados, who was attacked by double needles, roared and a tornado rolled around the attacking Beedrill. Beedrill, turn back quickly. Wutong commanded. Beedrill wrong mama possessed Gyarados with the tornado and stabbed Gyarados again and again, then turned into a burst of red light and returned to Wutong's Pokéball. Heracross, Rock Blast. Wutong threw a Pokéball and shouted. Heracross appeared on the field, and the stones on the ground floated up and shot at Gyarados. The old Heracross was possessed by the European Emperor this time, and large pieces of rocks were shot at Gyarados. It was a rain of rocks for Gyarados. Gyarados, destroy the deadlight. Xiaoxia shouted. Gyarados shot out a white beam of light, smashing the rocks flying from the front, and then swept towards Heracross. Heracross, another rock blast. Wutong said. Heracross waved his arms again, and another large piece of stone hit Gyarados. Gyarados' destructive death light also hit Heracross. After a burst of explosions, Gyarados and Heracross both fell to the ground. Seeing Heracross, who had lost his ability to fight, Wutong frowned. He felt that he had to train Heracross more when he went back. Chapter 115. The battle was a battle, but the battle was over. Wutong and Xiaoxia took back their respective Pokémon, and now Xiaoxia only has one Pokémon left. Wutong still has two Pokémon with intact combat capabilities. To put it simply, the advantage is mine. Go, Charizard. Swampert, leave it to you. Wutong did not plan to pretend and let the opponent turn the tables and directly released Swampert. After all, Swampert can perfectly restrain Charizard in terms of skills, attributes, etc. except that it cannot fly. Swampert, self-motivation. Wutong came up and used the skills learned from the skill learning machine that he just bought yesterday. Larger. Swampert condensed a pool of water on the ground and then used the water surface as a mirror to continuously show his muscles. Swampert's body flashed red and yellow alternately. This way of self-motivation is a bit narcissistic. Wutong complained as he looked at Swampert. Charizard, fly up, spray flames. Xiaoxia commanded. Roar. Charizard ascended to the sky and sprayed a mouthful of flames at Swampert. Swampert, knock him down with a rockfall. Wutong's goal was clear. Larger. Swampert raised his arms and a huge rock appeared out of thin air, and then he used his arms to smash the rock at Charizard. Charizard's flames were directly blocked by the rock, but it couldn't stop the rock from crashing into it. Charizard, big character explosion. Xiaoxia didn't hesitate at all. If spraying flames didn't work, then use something with higher power. Roar. Charizard stopped spraying flames, spit out a fireball, turned into a big character and hit the rock, followed by an explosion, and a rain of stones fell directly. Swampert, drop rocks, hit continuously. Wutong continued to command. Larger. Swampert rushed up directly, grabbing nearby rocks, and throwing them at Charizard while running. Stone after stone hit Charizard. Charizard, Dragon Claw. Xiaoxia said. Roar. Charizard roared. Its claws were covered and extended by blue-purple energy, and then it waved its claws to break the rocks that were shot at it. Almost done. Pull it down for me. Hit it. Wutong shouted when he saw that Swampert was almost in position. Larger. Swampert had already run under Charizard at this time, and Swampert stopped throwing rocks at this time, landing on all fours, with muscles bulging on his arms and legs, and veins protruding. Then, with a sudden force on his limbs, Swampert hit Charizard like a cannonball. Charizard, get out of the way. Xiaoxia didn't expect Swampert to use this method, and shouted hurriedly. Although Charizard is faster than Swampert, the distance between the two Pokémon is not far at this time. And although Swampert's bursting method can only go straight and clumsy, it is extremely fast. Charizard, who was still smashing the rocks in the previous second, was hit hard by Swampert in the next second. Charizard felt that his shit was about to be knocked out. Charizard, cheer up, throw it on the earth. Xiaoxia commanded calmly. At this time, Swampert was still flying with its head against Charizard's belly due to inertia. Charizard heard Xiaoxia's command, endured the huge pain, and grabbed Swampert with two claws. Then the wings vibrated and made a 180-degree turn and fell directly from the sky. Swampert, catch it. Wutong said calmly. Larger. Swampert showed a brilliant smile, and with a strong manlock, he embraced Charizard with his arms, stretched out from under Charizard's wings, and clasped his claws tightly behind Charizard. With a bang, Charizard and Swampert fell to the ground together, stirring up a cloud of dust. When the dust cleared, the two Pokémon reappeared in people's sight. Charizard was a little embarrassed at this time, but Swampert was not hurt at all. Hold on. Xiaoxia keenly saw the broken green energy shield on Swampert's body when it hit the ground. Swampert, rush over. Wutong commanded. Larger. Swampert rushed directly to Charizard. Charizard, smokescreen. Xiaoxia knew that Charizard needed to recover and chose smokescreen to delay time. Roar. Charizard moved, and then a mouthful of black smoke blew out, and the field was directly covered with black smoke. Swampert instantly lost his vision, and didn't know where Charizard was. Swampert, earthquake. Wutong didn't care. If he couldn't see it, he would just use range attack. Anyway, now when Charizard is standing on the ground, there is no situation where ground type skills cannot hit. After all, ground type skills cannot hit flying type skills not because of energy restraint, but simply because they cannot hit. The fact that earthquake can cause damage to flying type Pokémon using feather is the best proof. Charizard. Xiaoxia called Charizard. Charizard dragged its embarrassed body up by force. I'm waiting for you to fly. Swampert, surf. Wutong commanded. Larger. A wave of water rose under Swampert's feet and directly dragged Swampert up and crashed into Charizard. Charizard, fly higher. Xiaoxia continued to command. It's not that simple. Swampert, climb the waterfall. Wutong continued to command. The water flow under Swampert's feet burst out again and directly pushed Swampert up and crashed directly into Charizard. The last blow. The water flow breaks. Wutong shouted. Lag. Swampert roared, and the water flow wrapped around Swampert's arms and then hit the head of Charizard with force. Charizard was knocked to the ground directly. Earthquake. Wutong commanded coldly. Lag. Swampert, who began to fall, adjusted his posture and smashed his claws into the ground head first. At the moment of landing, Swampert's fists also hit the ground. The ground began to shake instantly. Charizard suffered another heavy blow. Charizard has lost its ability to fight, and the winner is Wutong from Tokiwa City. The referee announced immediately when he saw Charizard lose consciousness. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116. The game was a big success, but the game was a big success. Congratulations to Wutong for winning the championship of this quartz conference. Let's also give applause to Xiaozhi for bringing us a wonderful final. The host Xiaozhi shouted. Did you lose? I always feel that I was targeted a little bit. Xiaozhi said as he took back Charizard without caring at all. I also took advantage of it, but do you want to have dinner together tonight? Wutong said to Xiaozhi after taking back the giant Swampert who was showing off his muscles on the field. No, the quartz conference is over, and I have to continue my journey. See you again in the future, although it will be difficult. Xiaozhi waved his hand and was about to leave. Wait a minute. Don't you want to talk to me? You shouldn't be from here, Wutong said as obscurely as possible. It's not the right time yet, and I'm confused myself. So goodbye. Xiaozhi paused after hearing what Wutong said, and then left while talking. Hey, don't go. Wutong wanted to keep Xiaozhi. However, Wutong saw that Xiaozhi disappeared instantly after entering the contestant waiting room. It should be that the Sunny V used teleportation to leave. Damn it, it's great to be able to teleport, Wutong said uncomfortably. Wutong knew that he probably couldn't find Xiaozhi, so he simply stopped thinking about it and left the battlefield directly. Although the finals are over now, it's not time for the awards yet, because there will be a competition for the third place of the Quartz Conference in the afternoon. Wutong has nothing to do for the time being. After leaving the contestant waiting room, Shinji, Xiaomao, Xiaoming, Xiaozhi and his group, as well as Professor Oak and Hanako were all waiting for Wutong. You're so awesome, Xiaotong. I really want to have another fight with you. Xiaozhi, who has an impatient temper, said first. Yes, is that so? After hearing Xiaozhi's words, Wutong hesitated a little when he remembered the battle with Xiaozhi. After all, when Xiaozhi's Pokémon fights with him, he really wants to win, and he explodes at the slightest disagreement. Not bad, Xiaotong. Koizumi and Anzi will definitely be very happy. Hahaha. Dr. Oak patted Wutong on the shoulder and laughed heartily. I still have a lot of shortcomings and need to practice, Wutong said modestly after hearing Dr. Oak's praise. Hahaha, your personality is really unlike Koizumi. After the Quartz Conference is over, come to Pallet Town and hold a celebration meeting together. Koizumi and Anzi will also come. You haven't seen each other for a long time, Dr. Oak said. Really? That's great. Thank you, Dr. Oak, Wutong said with surprise. Wutong has been traveling for a year. Although he would video chat with Epon and Xingzi when he had nothing to do, he still missed them and was worried. That's it. I won't bother you young people. I'll go back to Pallet Town first, because I have gained something today, Professor Oak said. Xiaoxia, I'm going back to Pallet Town too. Will you go back with us, or wait until the Quartz Conference is over? Hanako said to Xiaoxia. Obviously, Hanako was just here to join in the fun. After all, she and Wutong didn't have much in common. No, I'll wait until the Quartz Conference is over before I go back, Xiaoxia said after thinking for a moment. After getting the answer, Professor Oak and Hanako left together. What a beautiful battle, Xiaotong. After the two elders left, everyone relaxed a lot, and Xiaogang said to Wutong. I also took advantage of it. Xiaozhi is a very strong guy, Wutong said. I didn't expect that the final champion would be you. TSK, the gloomy monster is really disappointing. He actually stopped in the semifinals. I asked my girlfriends to cheer for you, Xiaomao said. Huh, a playboy in the top 16 actually dared to say such a thing. Shinji immediately counterattacked. I suddenly feel so sad. I'm the lowest ranked. Xiaoming, who is in the top 32, said while holding his chest. Huh, I'm in the top 8. How about Xiaomao? Do you know who is the last one now? Xiaozhi also interrupted at this time. Huh, a lucky player actually thought he got rid of the title of the last one. You may not even beat the top 32 over there, okay? Xiaomao said disdainfully. What? Damn it. Xiaoming, let's fight. Xiaomao, this guy actually looks down on me. Xiaozhi said to Xiaoming with a fist. Pikachu also shouted in cooperation. What's wrong with the top 32? I'm just unlucky. If I meet Wutong in 6v6, I should have a chance. Xiaoming felt more pain in his chest and said. Xiaozhi, don't be so easily instigated. Xiaoming is already very hurt. Xiaogang said. Humph, boring and childish. Shinji commented on the side. The guy who says others are childish is really childish, you gloomy monster. Xiaomao retorted directly. Hey, don't ignore me. Anyone can fight me. Xiaozhi's battle maniac passively activated and began to invite him to fight. The top 32 over there, you deal with him. My Pokémon just finished fighting, and I can't fight this hot-blooded idiot again. Wutong waved his hand at Xiaoming and said. Hey, that's enough. What's wrong with the top 32? The top 32 is also the result of my hard work. Xiaoming shouted indignantly. Looking at the noisy group of boys in front of her, Xiaoxia sighed while holding to GP. Really, that's why boys are so childish. Xiaoxia said helplessly. Chajitu I eat a GP and Xiaoxia's arms waved his two little paws happily to watch the show. A group of people left the Quartz Stadium noisily and returned to the athletes' village to rest and have lunch. On the other side, Xiaoxian, who had teleported away, came to a dim house. How is it? How does it feel? A voice sounded in the dim house. Very good, although I didn't use my full strength. Xiaoxian shrugged, and a blue Pikachu appeared and jumped on Xiaoxian's shoulder. After all, he has just started his journey, and still needs to grow. If you fight him directly with all your strength, he may not even see your second Pokémon. A silver-haired boy wearing a white-bottomed red patterned Taoist robe and a half-face fox mask on his face said. Why don't we turn on the lights? Don't you think it's too dark? Xiaoxian said. Isn't it more interesting this way? Said the silver-haired masked man. Forget it, I'm going back to my own world first. Xiaoki, let's go. Xiaoxian said helplessly, calling out a seven-tailed silver-haired kitten-like Pokémon. Meow Xiaoki called out, and disappeared with Xiaoxian. P.S. For readers who haven't read Xiaoxian, this seven-tailed silver cat is an original Pokémon that can travel through time and space at the end of the book. Then I'll go back first, but Xiaolan seems to have to cook today. I hope the kitchen is okay. The silver-haired masked man said and disappeared. PS2, this is an Easter egg bit about why Wutong was reborn in the Pokémon world, and it has basically no impact on the plot, so everyone does not need to worry about the identity of this person. Of course, there should be readers who know who it is. There will be another chapter later, and if nothing unexpected happens, a wave of chapters will be adjusted tomorrow, and a few more chapters will be updated. Chapter 117. The 18th anniversary celebration was held. The Kanto Region Pokémon League, where excellent Pokémon trainers and Pokémon compete with each other for strength and special moves, will usher in the closing ceremony of the Quartz Conference in the evening. The voice of the host Xiaoxia echoed in the brightly lit Quartz Stadium. As soon as the host's voice fell, the Pokémon trainers who participated in the Quartz Conference walked into the various entrances of the Quartz Stadium. They walked into the Quartz Stadium with their most representative Pokémon while waving. President Damalanki will now give commemorative gifts to the players. As a proof of participating in the Quartz Conference, the host Xiaoxia continued the process of the closing ceremony. On the podium, between two etiquette ladies, President Damalanki, who was short, casually dressed, and had a big white beard, presented souvenirs to each contestant. After presenting the souvenirs to the contestants, it was time to present awards to the champion, runner-up, and third place. Standing in the champion's position, looking at the empty runner-up position on the right, Wutong knew that it would be difficult to see Xiaoxian again. As for the third place, there was a hedgehog-headed boy. Wutong looked at this hairstyle. Maybe this guy was the champion in the original plot. As for Shinji, who competed with this hedgehog-headed man for the third place, he still lost gorgeously. It seems that Shinji still has a long way to go. I can't stand it. It's a wonderful game. Congratulations on becoming the champion of this Quartz Conference, Wutong. President Damalanki handed Wutong a trophy and said, "Thank you, President Damalanki." Wutong took the championship trophy and let President Damalanki take a gold medal and said, "I can't stand it, keep working hard. I hope to see your wonderful performance in the future." President Damalanki continued to present awards to the third place. It seems that Xiaoxia told President Damalanki before leaving that he would not attend the award ceremony. The ones waving are the top few in the conference, and now the audience in the stadium is giving them grand applause, said the host Xiaoxia. Wutong held the championship trophy in one hand and waved perfunctorily with the other hand. Then the final fireworks show was carried out according to the procedure. Of course, when the fireworks were exploded, the rocket trio's screams were indispensable. "Ah, those three idiots were blown away again," Wutong said after watching a very abrupt meteor streak across the night sky. In this way, the Quartz conference ended successfully under the fireworks. In the breeding house on Route 5 near Hualan City, Wutong and the other two who had finished the Quartz conference leisurely set up a table in the yard and drank tea. The Pokémon of the three people were also released to have fun in the yard. Sand, Slash and Rumble turned into balls and rolled around in the yard, with Arcanine running happily behind them. 2B drills gathered together, as if to study how to make their needles sharper. Pidgeot was still pressing on Crowhead and trying to force himself on him, while Crowhead was also trying to resist. Heracross shared snacks with Marmoset and Toucan, watching the show with great interest while eating snacks. In the not-so-big pool, Gyarados and Stingray were leisurely soaking in it. A little further away, Nidoking and Swampert were wrestling, but it was obvious that Nidoking was suppressed very badly. Arbok was lying in a sunny place basking in the sun. Tortoise was serving as a sparring partner for Platypus and Pteranodon. "It's really peaceful," Wutong said, after taking a sip of tea. "Yeah, it's still comfortable at home," Xiaoming said lazily, leaning back in his chair. Shinji drank tea silently without saying anything. "You guy, this is my home, okay?" Wutong glanced at Xiaoming and said, almost. By the way, should we go to Pallet Town?" Xiaoming said lazily. "It doesn't matter. Dr. Oak said there will be a celebration tomorrow, so we can go in the evening," Wutong said. Shinji was still drinking tea silently on the side without saying anything. "My dear friend, what are your plans next? By the way, you don't want to attend the celebration, do you?" Wutong said to Shinji, who was addicted to drinking tea. Shinji still sipped the tea slowly without saying anything. "Hey, I know you like to drink tea, but you should at least say something." Wutong couldn't help saying, "I don't know." Shinji was frugal with words and continued to sip the tea after replying a sentence. "It's over. This guy's hopeless." "Xiaoming, you're going to go, right?" Wutong's eyes twitched, and he turned to Xiaoming and asked. "Of course, Xiaozhi also invited me, and I'll just go and join in the fun, since I have nothing to do anyway," Xiaoming still said lazily. "It's over. These two guys are hopeless." Looking at the two people in front of him, one lazily lying on the chair and the other sipping tea, Wutong said helplessly. Fortunately, the two returned to normal in the evening, but Wutong still felt that the sequelae of the conference were a bit scary. After packing up, the three of them went to Pallet Town together. Shinji is a guy who has not completely let go and has no intention of returning to the Sinnoh region to reconcile with his brotherly C. And Xiaomei also invited Shinji to attend the celebration. Of course, he couldn't avoid being ridiculed by Shinji for celebrating the top 16. But after all, he received an invitation. Shinji decided to give the playboy a face and attend. In response, Wutong said that tsundere is a disease and must be cured. When passing by the Tokiwa forest, Wutong remembered something and searched nearby and found a group of Spearows led by Toucan. "That's them. Both of you help me. I want to catch that Toucan." Wutong turned to Shinji and Xiaoming and said. Xiaoming and Shinji looked at each other strangely, not knowing why Wutong suddenly wanted to catch a Toucan. But it was not an important matter, so the two chose to help. The two released their own Pokémon to attract the attention of Spearow. Wutong also released all his Pokémon, letting Crowhead and Fossil Pterosaur fight Toucan, and the remaining Pokémon pulled Spearow. At this time, a group of Pidgeot and Pidgeot appeared to help the three attack Spearow. Soon, Toucan lost consciousness under the righteous beating and was easily recovered by Wutong. Wutong did not hesitate to directly teleport Toucan's Pokeball to Professor Oak. It seems that Mewtwo likes to use Toucan as a photographer, so find an opportunity to send it to Mewtwo. After a simple episode, Wutong and the other two continued to head to Pallet Town. Pidgeot, I can only help you here. You must be happy with Professor Oak, Wutong thought secretly in his heart. Although Pidgeot had been relieved of the situation of waiting for Xiaozhi for more than 10 years, according to Xiaozhi's habit, Pidgeot would have to work as a warehouse manager for Professor Oak in the end. You three are too late, aren't you? At the entrance of Pallet Town, Xiaomei stood there waiting for Wutong and the other two. Something happened on the way and delayed us for a while, Wutong explained. After all, the three had no place to sleep at night, so they had to stay at Xiaomei's place for one night. So the three notified Xiaomei after they set off, and Xiaomei also waited for the three to arrive at the entrance of Pallet Town. For some reason, Wutong suddenly wanted to capture Toucan. Xiaoming directly betrayed Wutong and said, "Toucan? Shining?" Xiaomei asked subconsciously. After all, the three knew about Wutong's situation. "No, he's just the leader of a group of Spearows," Shinji said. "Huh? Then why did you catch that Toucan?" Xiaomao said to Wutong with a puzzled look. "Because I want to study the connection between Ho-Oh, Moltres and Toucan." Wutong casually gave a reason and said, "How could Ho-Oh and Moltres be related to Toucan? You have seen Ho-Oh?" Xiaomao said speechlessly. "Don't you think the three of them are actually very similar? Not to mention Moltres, doesn't Ho-Oh look like Toucan with dyed hair?" Wutong continued to fool around. "Forget it, just be happy." Xiaomao decided not to continue this topic and said perfunctorily. The three followed Xiaomao to his home. Dr. Oak was staying in the laboratory today because of research. Xiaomao's parents are away from home all year round, and Xiaomao's sister Nanami also went to her friend's house today. So tonight, there are only Xiaomao, Wutong, Shinji and Xiaoming in Xiaomao's home. There are no adults at home. What else can four young men do when they get together? Of course, it's a night tea party. In the restaurant, there are some snacks on a round table. Wutong, Shinji, Xiaomao and Xiaoming sat around the table. How long have these two guys been like this? Xiaomao asked while drinking coffee and looking at Shinji sipping tea and the lazy Xiaoming. "I don't know if this guy can fall asleep after drinking coffee in the middle of the night. It's been almost a day. Don't worry about them. It's just the sequelae of the quartz meeting. It will be fine after a while." Wutong sipped hot cocoa. "Xiaomao, what are your plans next? If nothing goes wrong, you should travel to Chengdu, right?" Wutong asked. "Yes, that's right. I'm going to travel by myself this time," Xiaomao said. "Yes, traveling by yourself is also a different experience, and you can see more things." Wutong nodded in agreement. "What about the two losers?" Xiaomao pointed at Shinji and Xiaoming who were in the lose state. "Shinji should continue to travel to Chengdu, but I don't know about Xiaoming," Wutong said. "I want to travel to Chengdu too. The top 32 of the Quartz Conference is not my destination," Xiaoming said lazily. "A guy in the top 16 is saying who is a loser?" His Shinji retorted, but he still didn't forget to sip the tea. "Put down the teacup in your hand first," Xiaomao said speechlessly. "The one in Chengdu is the Silver Conference, right? Although we still need to collect 8 gym badges in Chengdu, we still have plenty of time. I heard that there is an Orange League in Kanto. Do you want to challenge it?" Wutong suggested. After hearing Wutong's words, Shinji, Xiaomei and Xiaoming all became interested. "Orange League? I heard that the gym competition there is different from the normal gym competition," Xiaomei said. "Yes, I remember it is also called the Southern Cross. After challenging the gym leaders in the 4 directions of Southeast, Northwest and Northeast to obtain the badges, you can challenge the chief trainer there," Xiaoming recalled. "It doesn't sound very formal." Shinji put down the teacup in his hand and said, "It is officially recognized by the Pokémon League, and it is said that the chief trainer there is very strong." Wutong continued. "In that case, let's have a competition to see who can complete the challenge of the Orange League first," Xiaomei suggested. "Competition? It seems very interesting," Xiaoming said. "Childish." His Shinji started to sip the tea again. but he did not refuse. After all, boys are very competitive. Okay, that's it. Let's see who completes the collection of all the badges of the Orange League and challenges the chief trainer first. Wutong immediately decided. At this time, the four of them were a little eager to win this game. You ask what the prize for the winner is? If you win, it's the final prize. The four of them chatted for a while and then went to rest. The next day, the celebration was held in the backyard of the Oak Research Institute. Although it is called the backyard, this size is completely a Pokémon ecological zone. After Professor Oak opened the ceremony and Xiaozhi stuttered his thanks, the celebration officially began. Wutong's grandparents, Aquan and Xingzi, who had not seen each other for a long time, also arrived. Both of them were very happy that Wutong won the championship. After praising Wutong, the two went to find Professor Oak to show off. Wutong was very happy to see his grandparents in high spirits. Shinji on the side also saw an unexpected acquaintance. His brother Lacey also appeared here. How about it? Are you surprised to see me? Lacey said to Shinji with a smile. Why are you here? Shinji frowned and couldn't understand why his brother appeared in Pallet Town. When I went to Suai Town to learn about the breeding house with Mr. Aquan and Ms. Xingzi, I knew that they were going to come to Kanto to celebrate the Pokémon that won the Quartz Conference for their grandson, so I followed them, Lacey said cheerfully. Shinji covered his forehead. He couldn't figure out what the logical relationship between them was. Hey, Lacey, long time no see. Wutong came over and said at this time. Hey, Wutong, long time no see. Thank you for taking care of my brother, Lacey said. No, although Shinji's personality is a bit awkward, he is my best friend, and I should take care of him, Wutong replied. Indeed, when did you become like this? You are so cold to me now. When we were little, you always followed me and called me Onii-chan, but now you won't even call me brother, Lacey said with his arms folded. You two guys, Shinji said with veins popping out on his forehead. How did Wutong and Lacey know each other? When contacting Aquan and Xingzi, Lacey happened to come to study. Wutong pretended to mention Shinji casually, and Lacey was naturally attracted by his brother's name. After a while, the two became familiar with each other, but the Shinji didn't know. On the other side, Xiaomei was hanging out with his girlfriends, and he decided to officially tell them that he was going to travel alone in Chengdu. As Xiaomei's top fans, the 6 girls of course supported Xiaomei unconditionally, but their expressions were obviously a little depressed. Xiaomei began to comfort them, and Xiaoming stood aside to watch the show. It seems that having more girlfriends is not all good. Looking at Xiaoxi, Xiaogang has turned on the foodie mode and kept putting food into his mouth with both hands, and at the same time he did not forget to call Xiaoxia and Xiaoxi to eat quickly. Xiaoxia suggested that they release all their Pokémon to celebrate together. Xiaogang and Xiaoxi both agreed and released their own Pokémon together. When Xiaoxi was about to release Charizard, he was stopped by Xiaogang and Xiaoxia. Xiaoxi, wait a minute. Xiaoxia grabbed Xiaoxi and shouted. I think Charizard should not be called out. Xiaogang held Xiaoxi and said. But, after all, let's forget it. Xiaoxi was a little hesitant at first, but when he thought of the rebellious Charizard, he decided to forget it. It's okay, let it out, I will help suppress it. And if you don't keep in touch, your relationship will never get better. Wutong came over and said at this time. As for Shinji and Lacey, they had a brotherly talk. After all, some things will be much better if they are talked out. Well please, Xiaotong, come out, Charizard. After hearing Wutong's words, Xiaoxi nodded and called Charizard. Roar. As soon as Charizard appeared and was about to go crazy, he felt a dark around him. Looking around, Charizard found that 5 pink monsters had surrounded it tightly. In the gap between the 5 pink monsters, a silver giant Beedrill kept moving, and 2 long needles flashed cold light, as if looking for a suitable place to needle. And I don't know if it was an illusion. Charizard felt that the giant Beedrill's eyes seemed to have been sweeping its own chrysanthemum area. Charizard shuddered and swallowed the flame that was about to reach its mouth. Charizard was indeed in a rebellious and irritable period, but that didn't mean it had no brains. The current situation was very clear. If Charizard dared to lose its temper, it would face a just beating. If there were only one or two, Charizard would never be afraid and would start a fight directly. The problem was that it was now surrounded by 5 strong pink monsters, and a sleazy silver bee was staring at its anus. So Charizard decided to be honest. In this way, the celebration ended safely in a peaceful atmosphere. Oh, by the way, the rocket trio who sneaked into the celebration was found by Wutong early, and then under Wutong's kind persuasion, the rocket trio decided to make money this time, and not to attack Pikachu for the time being. After the celebration, Wutong said goodbye to Aquan and Xingzi, Xiaomei said hello to Professor Oak, and Shinji waved to Lacey. Xiaoming, the only lonely person, was crying silently. After saying goodbye, the 4 of them went to the Orange Alliance together. How was the conversation with Lacey? Wutong asked Shinji on the way. Nothing, Shinji said perfunctorily, but seeing that his expression was not as gloomy as before, Wutong knew that the two should have reconciled initially. Chapter 118. The road in Kanto was full of people, but the weather was very bad. On a road in Kanto, a red convertible sports car was driving at a speed of joy. How long will it take to get there? Shinji, wearing sunglasses and looking gloomy, said coldly, and it was obvious that he was not in a good mood at the moment. I don't know, but it should not be far away, right? Xiaoming, who was also wearing sunglasses, said uncertainly. My dear friend, don't make that expression. The quartz conference is over. Let's relax before starting the trip to Chengdu. Wutong, wearing sunglasses, cheated from Squirtle, said with a smile. I said, you 3 guys, why am I driving by myself? And that gloomy face, if you think it's slow, just drive by yourself. Xiaomao, who was also wearing sunglasses, said unhappily. Because you are the only one who can drive. X2 Wutong and Xiaoming said in unison. After hearing Xiaomao's words, Shinji's forehead veins popped up. If it weren't for the last bit of reason telling him not to disturb the driver, he really wanted to have a real-life park with Xiaomao. As for why Shinji was so unhappy, it all started from the time when the 4 of them set out. After attending the celebration, Wutong and the other 4 set out to challenge the Orange Islands, to challenge the Orange Alliance. The fastest way to get to the Orange Islands from the Kanto region is to fly there, which only takes 1 day and 1 night. Therefore, the 4 of them decided to fly there in unison, and then the problem came. Although flying is the fastest, we can't let the 4 of them fly to the Orange Islands with their own Pokémon, right? 1 day and 1 night. Even if Wutong and the others can hold on, the Pokémon can't hold on. So the 4 of them chose to take the airship to the Orange Islands without any quarrel. Of course, it was not the shabby airship secretly controlled by Team Rocket that could crash at any time. After deciding to go by airship, Wutong, Shinji, and Xiaoming all decided to experience the charm of sports cars, so Xiaomao drove. Xiaoming was the co-pilot, and Wutong and Shinji sat in the back seat. Then Wutong proposed that, although the 4 of them had decided to compete, the Orange Islands was a good place for vacation, so they should also dress casually. This idea was supported by Xiaoming, but Shinji and Xiaomao both felt it was unnecessary, so it became a tie. When Xiaoming saw Wutong took out 4 loose short-sleeved t-shirts of different colors, Xiaoming was also a little shaken. Wutong said that after the research funding was increased by 20%, Xiaoming changed into the dark yellow t-shirt on the spot, and a Big Ming was written on the front of the t-shirt. After seeing Xiaoming wearing this t-shirt, Shinji and Xiaomao refused even more. Wutong immediately pulled Xiaomao aside and said that, as long as you stand on my side, you can see Shinji's expression of annoyance, but having to do it. Xiaomao was immediately attracted by the offer, and after Wutong's emotional and logical persuasion, as a good opponent of Shinji, how could he miss such an opportunity? So Xiaomao simply put on the dark green t-shirt with Mao written on the front. When Shinji saw his comrade in arms betray him instantly, he knew that the situation was over, so he had to put on the dark purple t-shirt with Shin written on the front. After seeing that the 3 people were obedient, Wutong was satisfied and put on the silver grey t-shirt with Wu written on the front. After that, Wutong took out 3 pairs of sunglasses, and Shinji and the other 2 easily accepted the sunglasses. However, Shinji entered the mode of being upset from that time on. After all, it would not make people feel comfortable if his comrade in arms betrayed him on the spot and then turned on the mocking mode. And if he wore this dress by himself, it would be nothing, but it would be very embarrassing if 4 people got together. But clothes, you get used to them after wearing them for a long time, and Shinji soon stopped being upset. The 4 of them still made a lot of noise when they arrived at the airship. Looking at the airship in front of him, which was not very luxurious, but looked neat and sturdy, Wutong felt much more relieved. It seemed that there would be no accidents that would cause them to be stranded on a deserted island. The 4 of them bought tickets and boarded the airship. Wutong and Xiaomei didn't say much, they were all rich people, and Shinji also got some pocket money because he had just separated from his brother Lacey. As for Xiaoming's ticket, Wutong paid for it, and it would be deducted from his salary later. The 4 of them sat on the airship without any accidents. After a day and a night of travel, they arrived at the largest island in the Orange Islands, Little Orange Island. The airship landed in the suburbs of Big City, the metropolis west of Little Orange Island. The 4 of them wandered all the way to Big City, which is indeed a metropolitan city. The city is very prosperous, and perhaps it is because King Kona would come here for vacation during holidays and conduct Pokémon demonstration battles. Big City has a high enthusiasm for Pokémon battles. You can see people fighting Pokémon in a few steps. Especially in some parks, they have completely become Pokémon battle venues. Pokémon battles are really popular in this city, Xiaoming said as he looked at the situation in Big City. Yes, everyone seems to like Pokémon battles very much. Xiaomei also said a little curiously. Maybe it's because of King Kona? I remember that King Kona would come here for vacation during holidays, and then conduct Pokémon demonstration battle courses every week. Wutong said. King Kona? I hope I can have another coaching battle with King Kona. Shinji said. Has Shinji ever had a coaching battle with King Kona? Xiaoming said in surprise. After all, it is not easy to meet the king of a region, let alone have a chance to have a coaching battle with the king. Yes, the 3 of us met King Kona on vacation in Lanprichi. Wutong said. What? You 3 lucky guys. Xiaoming looked like he was excluded, holding his chest, and said with great pain. Wutong, Shinji and Xiaomei all watched Xiaoming's performance speechlessly. This guy has been letting himself go more and more recently, and has begun to go further and further on the road of acting. The 3 looked at each other and decided to ignore Xiaoming in the acting mode and began to look for the Pokémon Center in Big City. After all, you have to find a place to stay first. Hey, you 3 guys, wait for me. Xiaoming found that he was ignored and he couldn't continue to act, so he hurriedly chased after him. The 4 of them searched for a while and found the Pokémon Center in Big City. As expected, the Pokémon Center here is very large. If I'm not mistaken, it's that little brat Wutong. A blonde woman gritted her teeth after seeing Wutong walking into the Pokémon Center. That's right, I didn't expect to meet this guy on vacation. Another green-haired man also gritted his teeth. These 2 people are the Rocket Team members who have not appeared for a long time and are on vacation. Amado and Xiao-san. Xiao-san. This time I must teach this little brat a lesson. Amado clenched his fists and said. My name is Xiao-san. Xiao-san said helplessly. Okay, don't worry about it. Go to Dr. Ambo immediately to apply for Pokémon and equipment. Amado said indifferently. Before Xiao-san could reply, Xiao-san's communicator suddenly rang. Yamato and Kosaburo looked at the communicator at the same time and fell into silence. Seeing that the communicator was ringing persistently, Yamato swallowed his saliva and took the communicator and answered it as if he had made up his mind. It's Nanbo. Nanbo. Don't even think about applying for equipment if you call it wrong. Dr. Nanbo's roar came from the communicator. Yamato, whose eardrums were hurt by Dr. Nanbo's roar, echoed with tears in his eyes. Kosaburo sighed helplessly on the side, suddenly feeling so tired that he wanted to lie down and quit. The 4 people who entered the Pokémon Center found Miss Joy and applied for a free room. At the same time, the 4 people learned that a Pokémon arena battle was being held in a large stadium. It was a very free competition, and everyone could participate. As long as they could defend the arena and complete 10 consecutive wins, they could advance to the next round. As for the battle rules, there were no other rules, except that only one Pokémon could be sent out at the same time. That is to say, you may encounter 10 pure newcomers who only have one Pokémon each, or you may have to play high intensity 6v6 battles for 10 consecutive games. This is a game method that tests the depth and luck of the team. However, in order to prevent people from having really bad luck, as long as they successfully defend the ring for 5 games, they can recover a wave of Pokémon. In the rest area of the Pokémon Center, the 4 people who just finished lunch began to discuss this matter. "How is it?" Wutong asked. "Need I say more?" Xiaoming showed a warlike smile. "There is still a lot of time before dinner." Shinji looked at the time and said, "Finally, the end. The guy who wins 10 games in a row will treat you to dinner." Xiaomao said directly. As for whether he could win 10 games in a row, Xiaomao had never considered it. "Oh, you are very confident," Wutong said with a raised eyebrow. "Then I won't be polite," Xiaoming said confidently. "It seems that the playboy wants to treat us to dinner," Shinji said. The 3 of them did not refuse. It was the boy's competitive spirit. "Did you hear that?" In the corner of the rest area, Yamato, who was dressed in casual clothes, said to Xiao Sanlang beside him. "Of course. Although I didn't apply for Pokémon and equipment, it's revenge to let this little brat lose." Xiao Sanlang said. "That's right. I must take revenge this time," Yamato said with a clenched fist. After a short rest, Wutong and the other 4 came to the large stadium. At this time, the Pokémon battle was in full swing in the large stadium. The entire stadium was divided into many areas, and the champions of each area were trying to defend their own arena. "Let's start," Wutong said and began to look for his target. "I'll find a good position for myself." Xiaoming also walked towards the depths of the stadium. Gloomy face. "Don't even win 10 games in a row," Xiaomao said and walked in. "HMPH, get ready to treat us." Shinji used a harsh word and chose the opposite direction of Xiaomao. "It's here. Wait until that little brat is no longer able to do it." Yamato followed stealthily and said, "That's when we come on stage. End the little brat's arena and make him lose the game," Xiao Sanlang said. Wutong walked in the stadium, looking for a lucky audience to become his target. Oh, isn't there a capable guy who can make me happy?" A boastful laugh attracted Wutong's attention. Wutong looked in the direction of the voice and saw a girl in a yellow long skirt with dazzling golden hair on both sides of her head like a drill, using a fan to cover the lower half of her face and looking at the nearby Pokémon trainers provocatively. "Oh, the lucky audience has appeared." Wutong raised his eyebrows and said to himself, "Miss, I wonder if I can challenge you to this arena?" Wutong walked to the opposite side of the blonde drill lady and said, "Oh, finally someone dares to stand up. I hope you won't make me feel too boring," the blonde drill lady still said with the fan covering the lower half of her face. "Don't worry, miss, I will never let you down," Wutong said with a bright smile. More than 10 minutes later. "Damn it, I'll remember you." The blonde drill lady ran away with tears in her eyes after saying the harsh words. Weaker than expected, but in this case, there is a stage. Next, we just need to wait for others to challenge us. "Thank you for your hard work, Heracross." Wutong patted Heracross beside him and said, "Hera." Heracross responded, then took out the energy cube as a snack and started to eat it. "Brother, you look very strong. Do you mind having a fight with me?" A muscular man in mountaineering equipment walked to the opposite side of Wutong and said, "Of course I don't mind, Heracross," Wutong said. "Hera." Heracross quickly stuffed all the energy cubes in his hand into his mouth after being suddenly called by Wutong, and then choked again as expected. "Why does this kid always do such stupid things?" Wutong said speechlessly while looking at Heracross, who kept patting his chest. At night, in a restaurant near the Pokémon Center, Wutong and his 4 friends sat together to eat dinner. "Is this the food obtained by strength? It's inexplicably delicious," Xiaoming said while stuffing food into his mouth. "Look at a certain playboy. It seems that he has lost his appetite." Shinji sipped tea and said to Xiaomao, who looked unhappy, "By the way, why are you still drinking tea?" Wutong looked at Shinji speechlessly and said, "Does he want to develop into a tea fairy?" By the way, should I recommend Shinji to catch one to drink tea? Damn it, if I hadn't met those guys, how could I lose? Xiaomao said unhappily, while chewing on a steak. Unlucky Xiaomao encountered a family of 3 brothers, all of whom used Pokémon with high defense and high health consumption. Although he won in the end, it took a long time. When he was still 2 opponents away from completing 10 consecutive wins, Wutong, Shinji and Xiaoming had already completed 10 consecutive wins. Then these 3 guys came together to watch the game, making Xiaomao feel the deep malice of this world again. As for Amado and Kozaburo, they did choose a similar time to challenge Wutong. The result was just that Wutong accelerated his pace to complete his 10-game winning streak, which was a cause for celebration. In this way, the dinner hosted by Xiaomao on the first day in the Orange Islands came to an end. Chapter 119. The 2 of them were in a state of panic, and the 2 sides were in a state of panic. On the boundless sea, Wutong rode on Swampet's back and sailed on the sea. It's been a long time since I last appeared. Lotum, you've deviated from the route. Lotum, you need to go a little to the left. Lotum, the mobile phone Rotom, who hadn't appeared for a long time, circled around Wutong happily, acting as a navigation task. Swampert, you've worked hard. Go a little to the left. Wutong patted Swampert and said. Larger. Swampert responded and went a little to the left and continued to move forward. As for why Wutong was on the sea, let's start from yesterday's dinner. After dinner, the 4 people began to discuss the challenge of the Orange Alliance. After all, the 4 of them had a match scheduled, so they couldn't always act together. It just so happened that the Orange League's match was composed of gyms of the 4 stars in the southeast, northwest, and northeast. So the 4 decided to start from the southeast, northwest, and northeast respectively, and the starting position of each person was determined by drawing lots. It seems that the goddess of luck is still on my side, said Xiaomao, who drew the closest Yuzu Island. Xiaomao is really lucky, but fortunately it's not the North Star, Wutong said, thinking of Xiaomao's proud look. As for the North Star, it was drawn by Shinji. When he saw the North, Shinji's mouth twitched obviously. Obviously he didn't expect his luck to be so bad. At the same time, the 4 of them set the condition that they could not use flying Pokémon to travel. The main reason was that more than half of a certain guy's Pokémon could fly, and one of them was a crow that flew very fast. Damn it, this is targeted, a certain guy said indignantly while sitting on Swampert. Fortunately, Swampert's swimming speed in the water is not slow, but the experience is not very good. After all, even though Swampert has become very strong under Wutong's training, it is not a vehicle professional after all, so it is still very tiring to sit. Rotom, when can we get there? Wutong asked depressedly, after being hit in the face by the waves again. According to Swampert's speed, it will take 2 hours to get to Lotto, Rotom replied on the phone. After another 2 hours of wind and rain, Wutong finally arrived at his starting point, Zargan Island. Thank you for your hard work, Swampert. After landing safely, Wutong took back Swampert. After all, Swampert was very tired after carrying him for a long time. Then, let's find a place to dry our clothes first, Wutong said, looking at his wet clothes. Finding a flat place without grass, Wutong built a bonfire and began to dry his clothes. At this time, behind a stone in the distance, Yamato and Xiao Sanlang were secretly observing Wutong. Damn it, I didn't expect this little brat to still have strength last time, causing us to be beaten again, Yamato said with gritted teeth. That's right, this time we applied for Pokémon, we must take revenge, Xiao Sanlang said seriously. Strange, why do I feel like I'm being watched? Wutong, who was still drying clothes, said strangely. After roasting the fire for a while, Wutong finally dried the clothes, and then went to Zargan Gym under the guidance of Rotom on his mobile phone. Why is there a Pokéball on the side of the road? Wutong, who was walking on the road, saw a Pokéball lying under a coconut tree on the side of the road. Wutong walked over curiously, and after confirming that it was not a Thunderbolt ball in disguise, Wutong picked up the Pokéball. However, as soon as he picked up the Pokéball, Wutong felt an unnatural pulling force. Then the clothes that Wutong had just dried became wet again. You can fall into this simple trap It seems that you are not a very good trainer, a naughty child's voice sounded. A spiky-headed naughty child appeared from nowhere and looked at the wet Wutong with disdain. "Ha, the clothes I just dried," Wutong said unhappily. "Where did you come from, naughty child? Do you know that this trap is immoral?" Wutong said to the naughty child while suppressing his anger. "Ha, I'm Quante from Xiaoxia. I'm just screening out unqualified trainers for my sister," Quante said without any guilt. "Xiaoxia? It's just right. I'm going to challenge Xiaoxia. Then I'll use you as a warm-up. As a member of the gym, you shouldn't be afraid to even fight, right? Wutong," he said with a kind smile. "What should I do if a naughty child is disobedient? Most likely he is spoiled. Just give him a beating. If you want to challenge Xiaoxia, beat me first. Come out, seahorse." Quante took out a Pokeball and said. Seeing the small seahorse in front of him, Wutong hesitated. He was afraid that his Pokémon would not stop and beat it to death. "What's wrong? Are you afraid?" Quante mocked. "What a hateful little devil. Go, Swampert." Wutong heard Quante's mockery and decisively released Swampert. Larger. The energetic Swampert looked at Wutong with a question mark on his face when he saw the seahorse on the opposite side that was not as big as his fist. "Are you sure this little guy can take my punch?" Swampert, rush over, arm hammer. Try to be gentle. Wutong took the lead and commanded Swampert to launch an attack. How to say it? The trainer is a naughty kid, but the Pokémon are innocent. Hippocampus. Use water gun. Izumi didn't feel that a disaster was coming and still commanded Hippocampus to fight back. Hippocampus spit out a water gun and successfully kept Swampert's body moist. Larger. Swampert rushed to Hippocampus, who was obviously not yet an adult, with a water gun, and punched it. The fist stopped in front of Hippocampus, and then a finger popped out, directly knocking Hippocampus to the ground. "Damn it, I will come back." Izumi took back Hippocampus and ran away. This kid, maybe he is suitable for the Rocket Team, a classic villain's exit line. Seeing Izumi running away, Wutong said to himself, "But I have to dry my clothes again." Wutong said depressedly as he looked at himself, who became wet again. After drying the clothes again, Wutong found the Zargan gym on the beach. "Excuse me, is anyone here? I'm here to challenge the gym." Wutong knocked on the door of Zargan gym and said, "No one is here, go back." Quante's voice came from behind the door. "If there is no one, there will be no answer," Wutong said with veins popping out of his forehead. "This is the automatic reply set. No one is here now." Quante said again. "Swampert, break the door open for me." Wutong called out to Swampert directly. Larger called out in confusion when he appeared. Why did it have so many rolls today? Swampert walked to the door and pushed the door open with both arms. Sister, a pink muscle monster is here to challenge the gym," Quante shouted as he saw the door being forced open. Larger. Hearing Quante's shout, Swampert seemed a little hurt. Don't mind. Pink is the color of macho man." Wutong patted Swampert to comfort him. Wutong led Swampert to the inside of Zargan gym. When they arrived at an open space, Wutong saw Quanta running away. Sister, someone is here to challenge us." Quanta ran to a girl and said, "Hello, I'm Wutong from Tokiwa City, and I want to challenge Zargan gym." Wutong said politely, "I see, your challenge is accepted by me, the Western Star of the Southern Cross, Dunmui of Zargan gym." After hearing Wutong's words, Dunmui said confidently with her arms folded in front of her. After Dunmui finished speaking, the scene instantly became quiet. Wutong just looked at Dunmui quietly, and Swampert also imitated Wutong and looked at Dunmui with its wise eyes. "Aren't you going to start the battle?" Dunmui said, perhaps a little embarrassed by being looked at. "What should I prepare if you don't tell me the rules?" Wutong asked back in confusion. "Yes, is that so? Okay, Quante." Hearing Wutong's question, Dunmei called Quante with a bit of pity. Seeing Dunmei's look, Wutong raised his eyebrows. Sure enough, naughty children have a certain relationship with family. This Dunmei definitely wants to wait for the challenger to be impatient to prepare for the battle and then explain the rules of Zargan gym after mocking him. Quante took out a remote control at some point, and after pressing it twice, the venue began to change. A huge rectangular pool appeared in the center of the venue, and the wall on one side opened to reveal a row of cans. Let's decide the winner with 2 skills. Come out, Seathorn Dragon. Dunmei said, while throwing a Pokeball. A Seathorn Dragon appeared in the pool. First, let's decide the winner with a water gun. Let's see whose Pokémon can use the water gun trick more accurately. Dunmei said. Water gun, can you use other skills instead? Anyway, it's the accuracy of the competition skills. Right. Wutong looked at Swampert and said. Yes, but it can't be a large scale skill. Dunmei agreed readily. After all, not all trainers have water type Pokémon or Pokémon that can learn water guns. Swampert, go ahead please. Just use falling rocks. Wutong said to Swampert. Lagoo. Swampert showed off his muscles and said, leave it to me. Go, Sea Spike. Dunmei shouted with a wave of his hand. Sea Spike's water gun fired and knocked down 5 cans in one breath. Is 5 consecutive shots the standard? Swampert, show them. Wutong said. Lagoo. Swampert grabbed a stone in the air with his 2 claws. Then Swampert threw 5 stones in succession with his left and right hands. Dang dang dang. 10 cans fell to the ground. How is it possible? Dunmei shouted in disbelief. After all, she saw with her own eyes that Swampert only threw 5 stones. And the stones were not very big and could hit 1 can at most at a time. But now 10 cans were knocked down. It's very simple. Just learn physics and you will be able to do it, Wutong said with his hands spread out. This is just a little trick, and it is basically impossible to play a role in actual combat. This is just a small game that Wutong taught Swampert to control his own strength, but Swampert seems to like it very much. The principle is very simple. When throwing stones, control the strength so that the speed of the stones flying is different, and control the angle so that the stones can collide with each other and change direction. As long as you find the right angle, 5 stones can hit 10 cans. If the proficiency continues to improve and the angle of the stone rebound is calculated, more cans can be knocked down. But with Swampert's brain, it is good enough to let the stone collide once. This is because Swampert likes this game and often plays it. Simply put, there is nothing else. Only practice makes perfect. Physics? Forget it. The next step is the moving target, Quante. Dunmei decided not to continue to struggle and go straight to the next step. Quante pressed the button twice again, and 3 flying discs were shot out. The 3 consecutive shots of the Sea Dragon water gun directly smashed the 3 flying discs. Then it's your turn. Dunmei regained her confidence and said to Wutong. Come on, Swampert. Wutong simply cheered up Swampert. Larger. Swampert shouted. Then let's start, Quante. Dunmei said. Quante obediently pressed the remote control twice and 3 more flying discs were shot out. Swampert threw 3 stones and easily smashed the flying disc. Is this level really not difficult for you? Next, aim at a plate and see who hits it first. Dunmei said. No problem. Wutong said. So, are you ready? Quante said, and pressed the remote control. A flying disc flew out quickly, but before it could fly far, it was smashed by rocks. Then a water gun came belatedly and passed through the wreckage of the flying disc. It seems that I won. Wutong said. You are quite good, but I will not lose the next competition. Dunmei said. Under the leadership of Dunmei, several people came to the beach. The second round of the competition is a surfing race. Do you see the flag over there? Surf to the flag over there and then come back. The first one to arrive wins. Dunmei pointed to the flag on the sea in the distance and said. No problem, Swampert, try harder. Wutong said to Swampert. Larger. Swampert showed off his muscles and shouted. Come out, Blasto Eyes. Dunmei also called out the Pokémon she was going to use in the surfing race. This is a good opportunity. We must stop the little devil, said Amado. That's right, use the Pokémon we applied for, said Kosoburo holding a Pokéball. After saying that, Amado and Kosoburo both dived into the sea. This is the signal to start, said Quanta on the other side holding a signal gun. I know, Swampert, let's go. Wutong said and jumped on the back of Swampert. It seems that I don't need to explain too much, so let's get ready to start. Dunmei also jumped on the shell of Blasto Eyes. Ready, start, said Quanta and fired the signal gun. Let's go. Blasto Eyes. shouted Dunmeri. Blastoise took Dunmeri and began to swim quickly towards the flag on the sea. Swampert, get ready, said Wutong. Lager. Swampert got on all fours and bulged his muscles to accumulate strength. What are you doing? Are you ready to give up? Dunmeri looked back and saw that Wutong had not come out yet, so she asked. However, just as Dunmeri finished speaking, she heard a broken voice and a pink S-figure passed by her and Blastoise. Little brat. We won't. Amado suddenly emerged from the water, and just as he was halfway through his words, he saw a pink muscle monster crashing into him. No, don't. Spearow, who came out a little slower, couldn't help but shout. The two people who had just appeared on the stage instantly turned into stars in the sky. It seems to have hit something. Forget it. It must be an illusion. Wutong, who was holding Swampert tightly, thought. Swampert hit the flag directly and crashed into the sea together. This game is not like this at all. Dunmeri, who was just halfway through, shouted. The final result was undoubtedly that Wutong won. Dunmeri was indignant, but had no choice but to hand over the cherry blossom badge of Xiaoganjum to Wutong. Then goodbye. Wutong accepted the pink shell and left without hesitation. After all, he had to find a place to live before the evening. Damn it, why would there be such a guy? Dunmeri said as he watched Wutong's departing back. Chapter 120. On the sea, Wutong rode Swampert and felt the wind and waves again. I can't stand it anymore. I must catch a water vehicle, Wutong said to himself while feeling the wetness on his body. Swampert is really not a qualified water vehicle. After all, Swampert can only swim with a doggy paddle if it carries people. Shinji's Gyarados, Xiaomeo's Squirtle and Xiaoming's stinging jellyfish. No matter which one is stronger than Swampert. Wutong looked at Swampert with resentment. Largette. Hearing Wutong's words, Swampert was shocked. So love will disappear, right? Rotom, what is the nearest island? How far is it from us? Wutong said. As soon as Wutong finished speaking, Rotom on the mobile phone came out of Wutong's pocket and floated in front of Wutong. The nearest island is Lotto on Yagan Island. I can almost see Lotto, said Rotom on the mobile phone. Can I see it almost? Ah, I see it. It seems that Yagan Island is rich in glass products, right? Wutong said. Yes, Lotto. Rotom on the mobile phone replied. There seems to be a crystal rock snake that is not afraid of water. It can swim, is big enough, and seems to be a shiny Pokémon. Wutong thought secretly. Okay. Swampert, speed up. Let's stay on Yagan Island tonight. Wutong said excitedly. He felt that an excellent water transportation tool was waving to him. Lager. Swampert shouted, and his foreclaws dug faster. With Swampert's efforts, Wutong once again stood on land. Thank you for your hard work, Swampert. Rotom, find the location of the Pokémon Center on Yagan Island. Wutong said to Rotom on the mobile phone after taking back Swampert. There is no Pokémon Center Lotto on Yagan Island. Rotom on the mobile phone said to Wutong after searching. No Pokémon Center? Then I have to find a place to live by myself, Wutong said, holding his forehead. That's right Lotto. Do you need Rotom to find a hotel on Yagan Island? Lotto? Rotom on the mobile phone asked. Please, Rotom, Wutong said. Under the leadership of Rotom on the mobile phone, Wutong came to Glass Town on Yagan Island, a made-up town name. Don't worry about it. Sure enough, the whole town is full of glass products, Wutong said as he walked on the street of Glass Town. The hotel is at Lotto. Rotom on the mobile phone took Wutong to a slightly old building. Perhaps to match the style of Glass Town, the sign at the entrance of the hotel is also made of glass, but it should have been specially treated so that it will not be as fragile as ordinary glass. Putting the mobile phone Rotom back into the backpack, Wutong walked into the hotel. Walking into the hotel, glass crafts are decorated everywhere. Could the bed be made of glass too? Wutong said to himself. No, a voice suddenly sounded behind Wutong. Wutong was startled and turned around. A gray-haired and kind-faced old lady was standing there. Young people are so timid. Do you want to stay? The old lady said. Yes, please open a room for me, Wutong said. After registering, the old lady led Wutong to a room. Except for some glass crafts as decoration, it was no different from an ordinary hotel. Boss, is there any place on Yagan Island suitable for watching the tide? I prefer watching the tide, Wutong asked. Watching the tide? Do young people nowadays have such unique hobbies? The lady boss told Wutong a rough location. Rotom, did you remember it? Wutong said to Rotom on his mobile phone after the lady boss left. We have compared the map, and Rotom can find the approximate location of Lotto. But why does Wutong suddenly want to watch the tide? Lotto? Rotom on his mobile phone asked curiously. Because I'm going to enter the literary and artistic world, and become a literary youth. Wutong touched his chin, and said in a deep voice. I can't understand Lotto. Rotom on his mobile phone was full of confusion. Letting the confused Rotom on his mobile phone charge himself, Wutong released Swampert to restore its status. There is no Pokémon Center on Yagan Island, so Wutong can only do it himself. Fortunately, after training, Wutong will not become sleepy after restoring the status of Pokémon. When can I use the power of Changpon casually? You still don't want to sleep? Wutong yawned and said. After restoring Swampert, Wutong left the inn with the fully charged Rotom mobile phone. Because the animation did not clearly give the specific location of the crystal cave where Crystal Rock Snake was located, Wutong could only rely on other information to find out. Under the guidance of Rotom mobile phone, Wutong came to the place that the proprietress said was suitable for watching the tide. That's it, Lotto. Rotom mobile phone said to Wutong. Very good, it's here. Wutong saw the small island on the sea not far away at a glance. It was not low tide at this time, and the road connecting the two islands did not appear. Crowhead, come out. Wutong released the crowhead without hesitation. Gap. The crowhead came out and shouted energetically. Riding the crowhead, Wutong came to the island. A very conspicuous cave entrance appeared in front of Wutong. Then, the cave exploration begins. Wutong said as he took back the crowhead. I can't understand Lotto. Why does Wutong know there is a cave here? Lotto. Rotom on the phone said in confusion. Don't worry about these details. Let's go and start exploring, Wutong said casually. Walking into the crystal cave, what caught his eye were countless crystals of different sizes. Walking deeper, a lake appeared in front of Wutong. Swampert, go down and play. Wutong released Swampert and said. Lager? The Swampert who was called out was a little confused, but still jumped into the lake. Platon, get ready for battle. Wutong released Platypus after seeing Swampert jump down. Buban. Platypus stood beside Wutong, ready for battle. A moment after Swampert jumped into the lake, the calm lake surface suddenly began to roll violently. Roar. A large rock snake made of crystal emerged from the water. Ice cubes don't know how to describe this color. It looks like blue, but it's not blue. Pyramon. Big word explosion. Wutong didn't hesitate at all and came up fiercely. Buban. Pyramon raised its barrel-shaped claws and shot a fireball. The fireball shot at Crystal Rock Snake, and during the flight, the fireball turned into a big word and exploded directly on Crystal Rock Snake's body. Roar. Crystal Rock Snake didn't expect to be blown up as soon as it came out and screamed in pain. It seems that the attributes have completely mutated, and this effect is too good, Wutong said, touching his chin. There are various analyses about the attributes of Crystal Rock Snake. Some say it is ice, some say it is steel, and some say it is a composite attribute of ice plus steel. Swampert, arm hammer. Wutong thought about it and decided to continue testing. Larger. Swampert didn't expect to see such a strange onyx in the water. His fist glowed, and he punched it. Roar. Crystal onyx was hit hard again, and was thrown directly to the shore. The effect of the fighting system is also surprisingly good, so it is really a composite attribute of ice plus steel? Wutong analyzed when he saw Crystal Onyx, which had become a circle-eyed, and collapsed on the shore. By the way, what will Crystal Onyx become if it evolves? I'm a little curious, Wutong said as he took out a Pokeball. The completely unconscious Crystal Onyx was captured without struggling. Fossil Pterosaur, you go to Professor Oak first. Wutong, whose team is already full, needs to teleport a Pokémon back. Remembering that Professor Oak has always wanted to study the pterosaur, let's send it to Professor Oak to study it first. Just pray that Professor Oak's research institute will not be demolished by the pterosaur. Release the captured Crystal Onyx again. Take out the wound medicine and give Crystal Onyx a preliminary treatment. Then use the power of Evergreen to give Crystal Onyx a second round of recovery. Raw. Crystal Onyx regained consciousness and looked around with a confused face. Its consciousness was still stuck on a pink muscle monster entering its territory, and then it lost consciousness after rushing out of the water. Large Swampert saw Crystal Onyx wake up and greeted him. Buban. Platypus also waved its claws to show friendliness. Raw. Crystal Onyx suddenly woke up and instantly distanced itself from Swampert and Infernape, roaring at them. Okay, stop yelling. We are all companions from now on, Wutong said, showing his affinity for Pokémon. At this time, Crystal Onyx also wanted to what happened just now. It was actually subdued by someone. Question mark? Okay, follow me and I promise you will have a good time. Wutong used the power of Changpan again and took out the energy block at the same time. With two-pronged approach, Crystal Onyx finally surrendered. Then, let's do a simple test. Onyx, use falling rocks on the lake. Wutong tried to command. Raw. Crystal Onyx shouted, and a stone appeared out of thin air and fell down. You can command. Not bad, but it's not the crystal that fell down. Wutong nodded with satisfaction when he saw Crystal Onyx use the skill obediently. So, is Crystal Onyx really a flash? The power of flash should be a change in attributes, right? Wutong continued to analyze. Wutong looked at the huge size of Crystal Onyx and was very satisfied. Wutong climbed onto the head of Crystal Onyx, found a good position to sit down, and then grabbed the horn on the top of Crystal Onyx's head. It hurts my butt a bit, but it feels good. Wutong was even more satisfied after feeling it. Raw. After hearing what Wutong said, Crystal Onyx twisted its body in dissatisfaction. I can't understand Rotom. I can't understand it at all. Mobile Rotom circled around Wutong. So, don't pay attention to these details. Wutong grabbed the mobile Rotom that was circling around him and put it in his pocket. Then let's practice it. Wutong took back Swampert and Platypus and said, bringing Crystal Onyx to the outside of the crystal cave. Wutong pointed to the water surface and signaled Crystal Onyx to go into the water. Crystal Onyx obediently dived into the water. Seeing Crystal Onyx floating on the water, Wutong nodded with satisfaction. At this time, Crystal Onyx's head was still the last distance from the water surface. At least this distance would not be hit by the waves blown by the wind and soaked all over. Sitting on the head of Crystal Rock Snake, Wutong returned to the Yagan Island. Although I won't get wet, my butt hurts a little, Wutong said with a complicated look after taking back Crystal Rock Snake. Having completed his goal, Wutong returned to the room of the hotel and rested for a night. The next day, Wutong set out on the journey again. Sure enough, there are always more solutions than problems, Wutong said comfortably while sitting on the head of Crystal Rock Snake. Raw. Crystal Rock Snake shouted in dissatisfaction and then shook his head. At this time, a chair was tied to the top of Crystal Rock Snake's head and the chair was covered with cushions. In order to prevent instability, Wutong also put a bridle-like thing on the horn on the top of Crystal Rock Snake's head. At this time, Crystal Rock Snake perfectly incarnated a water transportation tool. It's just that this water transportation tool was forced. Onyx, let's go. Target Yuzu Island, Wutong said with high spirits. Who? As a long-time homebody, Crystal Onyx looked confused, indicating that it had no idea where Yuzu Island was. Okay, Rotom, get up and work. Wutong patted his backpack and said, Rotom will guide you. Lotto Mobile Rotom flew out and said obediently. Under the navigation of Mobile Rotom, Wutong began to head to Yuzu Island, where the next gym was located. After sailing on the water for a while, Wutong couldn't help yawning because of the identical sea surface nearby. Just when Wutong was considering whether to take a nap, Crystal Onyx suddenly began to vibrate. What's wrong? Wutong said in confusion. Before Crystal Onyx could react, a huge vortex suddenly appeared. Vortex. Crystal Onyx, get out of here. Wutong shouted hurriedly. Who? Crystal Onyx struggled to get out of the vortex, but the power of the vortex was obviously much greater than that of Crystal Onyx. Crystal Onyx began to be gradually sucked into the vortex. No, Crow. Wutong called out Crow and turned over to climb onto Crow's back. Then Wutong wanted to take back Crystal Onyx, but it was too late and Crystal Onyx was swallowed by the whirlpool. No way, Swampert. Wutong couldn't just abandon Crystal Onyx and called back Crow. Swampert took Wutong in his arms and jumped into the whirlpool. After Swampert and Wutong disappeared in the whirlpool began to spin slower and finally the sea surface returned to calm. But Wutong and the two Pokémon did not reappear on the sea surface. Chapter 121. The weather was very bad, but the weather was very bad. On a grassland, Wutong opened his eyes in confusion. Where is this? Wutong looked around and was confused. Looking around, there was an endless grassland. Wutong subconsciously touched the Pokéball on his waist, but found nothing. All the Pokéballs are gone. Dream Demon. Wutong searched for a long time, but couldn't find the Pokéball, and began to call the Dream Demon and the Shadow. However, the Dream Demon, who came at any time, didn't respond at all. Wait a minute, why am I not wet at all? Wutong suddenly found something wrong. Am I dreaming? Wutong looked around again, and touched his chin and said. Wutong thought for a moment and slapped himself decisively. It doesn't hurt. Wutong frowned. At this time, Wutong found that there was a water jump fish in front of him. Gurgle. The water jump fish called to Wutong. It must be said that the water jump fish before evolution was still quite cute. Wutong couldn't help thinking as he looked at the water jump fish. However, Wutong, who just thought the water jump fish was cute, was hit in the stomach by the water jump fish in the next second. It hurts. Wutong, who was hit into the state, couldn't help shouting. On a small beach under a cliff, Swampert and Crystal Onyx stared at Wutong lying on the ground and were a little at a loss. What should I do? As a stay-at-home kid, Crystal Onyx asked Swampert in a panic when this happened, just after being captured and taken out. Lagoo, Master seems to have fainted. I remember Master taught me what to do if someone faints. Swampert said with a thoughtful expression. Who? Really? So awesome. Crystal Onyx was deceived by Swampert's thoughtful expression. Lagoo, Master said if someone faints, press his philtrum. Swampert said confidently. Who? What is philtrum? Crystal Onyx looked confused. Lagoo, philtrum should be the middle of a person. Swampert said more confidently. Crystal Onyx and Swampert turned their eyes to Wutong at the same time. Lagoo, it should be here. Swampert said with his claws on Wutong's abdomen. Crystal Onyx on the side looked awesome and expectant, waiting for Swampert's next performance. Swampert's expression became serious, and then he pressed down hard. Puff. Wutong was directly pressed into a shape, and a stream of water sprayed out of his mouth. Roar. Master is so powerful, he can use a water gun. Crystal Onyx said with shining eyes. Obviously, it misunderstood something. Damn, I almost died. Wutong regained consciousness, wiped the corner of his mouth and said embarrassedly. It must be said that Wutong's physical fitness has gone further and further on the road of inhumanity. It seems that he is the next generation of Super Tokiwa people. Seeing Wutong wake up, Swampert and Crystal Onyx seemed very happy. Wutong looked at Swampert and Crystal Onyx and felt the pain in his abdomen. He probably guessed what happened. I'm destined to not be able to change the ending of getting wet, right? Wutong stood up and looked at his wet clothes and said helplessly. Swampert and Crystal Onyx looked at Wutong with confusion, not knowing what he was talking about. Forget it. So where is this place? Wutong looked around and muttered to himself. The map shows that it is Pingon Island. I feel like water has entered my body and I feel very uncomfortable. Mobile Rotom flew out and said with resentment. Pingon Island? I don't have much impression of it. Wutong said a little puzzled. Pingon Island is a very mysterious island. Because it is surrounded by a large whirlpool outside and there are cliffs on the coast, the ecology on the island is very mysterious. Mobile Rotom said the information he knew. This introduction sounds a bit familiar. Wutong thought. Forget it, let's go up and take a look. Wutong was too lazy to think about it. Anyway, he would know if he went up and took a look. Come out, Crowhead. Wutong took back Swampert and Crystal Rock Snake and released Crowhead to take him up. Crowhead took Wutong to the top of the cliff. It doesn't look special. Wait, what is that? Wutong came to the top of the cliff and found that it was just an ordinary forest. However, a pink furball suddenly appeared in front of the question. Shiny? No, this is it. Isn't this Pink Island? Wutong remembered why Rotom's introduction to Pingon Island was so familiar. This is Pingon Island Lotto. Rotom said that its information was absolutely correct. Yes, it's probably the translation's fault again. Wutong said helplessly. Understandable Lotto. Rotom said that he couldn't understand what Wutong said at all. In that case, you're all out. Welcome home. Wutong called out his Pokémon and said. Chapter 122. After the two of them came out, they all looked at Wutong curiously. What does welcome home mean? Could it be that this island belongs to them? Although I don't know what you are thinking, it should be different from what you think. Wutong said as he looked at his Pokémon's excitement. The fossil pterosaur is not here, and the team's colors are a bit uneven. Let's change the giant bee back. Wutong looked at his Pokémon and said. Giant bee? Do you think you are very humorous? Wutong finally didn't change the giant bee back. After all, he had to consider the mood of the giant bee. Dream, the dream demon who had been staying in the shadow of Wutong, rarely came out. With a large group of Pokémon, Wutong walked into the forest. When he entered Pingon Island, he saw a sea of pink Pokémon eating a pink fruit. This is a pink fruit. No, Pingon fruit. Wutong came to an empty tree and looked at the pink fruit on the tree and said to himself. Heracross flew over as soon as he saw the pink Pingon fruit. Although Heracross is a foodie, he is a foodie who knows how to share. So Heracross picked a bunch of Pingon fruits and flew back. Heracross ran to Wutong with a bunch of Pingon fruits, as if asking for credit, and then missed Wutong directly, looking at the dream demon with a flattering face. The dream demon nodded with satisfaction, and then grabbed a Pingon fruit with telekinesis and ate it. If I remember correctly, I'm the trainer, right? Wutong's expression was very complicated. Although it is a good thing that my Pokémon are united, why do I feel a little lonely? Dream. After eating, the dream demon showed a happy look. It seems that the taste of the Pingon fruit is very good. After seeing the dream demon start to eat, the other Pokémon also tasted it. The magical thing is that the Pingon fruit actually suits the taste of all Pokémon. But this is normal. After all, if the Pingon fruit can only satisfy the taste of a small number of Pokémon, there would not be so many Pokémon on Pingon Island. Wutong looked at the dream demon and felt that the pink color on the edge of its switch robe seemed to have increased a little. Crystal Onyx and Beedrill, you two should eat less. Wutong said. Raw. Crystal Onyx was confused. Is this a different treatment? Then he looked at Beedrill, who was in the same situation as him. Beedrill was waiting for Wutong's next words. After all, its owner has always treated everyone fairly. This fruit will turn pink after you eat it. If you only eat a little, only part of it will turn pink. If you eat too much, the whole body will turn pink. Wutong said. Crystal Onyx and Beedrill were shocked when they heard it, and then looked at each other. At this time, the tail of Crystal Onyx had turned pink, but because of the problem of its body material, it was not a strange pink stone, but a pink crystal that generally looked very dreamy. The ends of several of Beedrill's thorns also turned pink, and the pink thorns flashed with cold light. Crystal Onyx and Beedrill were relieved to see that there was not much pink. Fortunately, it didn't have to turn into the embarrassing color of Death Barbie pink. However, the expressions and actions of Crystal Onyx and Beedrill successfully attracted 4 Pokémon: Swampert, Flammabeast, Crowhead and Heracross. Crystal Onyx and Beedrill suddenly felt that the surrounding area was dark, and then they found that Swampert, Flammabeast, Crowhead and Heracross surrounded them, and surrounded them in the middle. Raw. Crystal Onyx cried out guiltily. Beedrill began to try to find a gap to escape. However, the 4 Swamperts would definitely not let them do what they wanted. Lag. Swampert waved his claws and cried out. Heracross understood and appeared with a bunch of tangerines. Flammabeast and Crowhead showed a ferocious smile. As a deterrent, Crowhead blocked the retreat of Crystal Onyx and Beedrill. Swampert directly grabbed a few tangerines and began to approach Crystal Onyx and Beedrill. Wutong watched his Pokémon speechlessly as they were making a fool of themselves. After a commotion, Crystal Onyx and Beedrill cuddled together, not knowing whether they were fed. After eating so many tangerine fruits, both Pokémon turned pink. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123. The fruit was eaten by a monkey, but it was not easy to eat. Don't worry, if you don't eat this fruit for a long time, you can change back. Wutong comforted. After hearing Wutong's words, Crystal Rock Snake and Beedrill all breathed a sigh of relief. They didn't want to join the Pink Monster Alliance. Watching his Pokémon playing, Wutong also picked up a penguin fruit and took a bite. After taking a bite, the full juice instantly filled the mouth. The taste was sweet, but not the kind of greasy sweetness, but very refreshing sweetness. Wutong, a part-time Pokémon breeder, has eaten various tree fruits in order to better control the taste of Pokémon food. But the best tasting one is the penguin fruit I ate today. I wonder if the tangerine fruit used to make energy cubes will retain the dyeing function or have other functions. Obviously, Wutong's occupational disease came back, and at this time he wanted to try making energy cubes. Dream. The dream demon might have been bored outside and wanted to go back to Wutong's shadow to continue her career as a home girl. As a result, she screamed directly after seeing Wutong. What's wrong, dream demon? Wutong continued to chew the tangerine fruit. Dream. The dream demon screamed anxiously twice, then dived into Wutong's shadow, and then ran out with a mirror. Put the mirror in front of Wutong. Wutong was a little confused, looked at the mirror, and then froze directly, and the tangerine fruit in his hand fell directly to the ground. At this time, Wutong's originally black hair had turned into a conspicuous pink, similar to Miss Joy's hair color, but a little lighter. And even the pupils were slightly pink. If he continued to eat, it was estimated that the pupils would completely turn pink. Does this thing have an effect on humans too? After the panic, Wutong recovered quickly. After all, as long as he stopped eating, he would recover after a while. On the other side, Crystal Rock Snake and Beedrill, who knew they could recover, had already let themselves go and ate penguin fruit unscrupulously. It's over. This time it's completely a macho team. Wutong sighed and said, tap. A roar came, and Wutong and his Pokémon looked over. A pink diamond horned rhinoceros with several equally pink unicorn rhinos looked very angry and roared at Wutong and his Pokémon. We seem to have eaten their food, Wutong said embarrassedly. That's right. After all, Penguin Island is not a big island, and there are many Pokémon living here, so naturally there will be their own regional divisions. If Wutong had just picked a little to eat, the rhinoceros and the one-horned rhinoceros wouldn't have been angry, but Wutong looked at the nearby trees that had been completely plucked, and the embarrassment on his face became more obvious. Sorry, we didn't mean it. Wutong tried to appease the rhinoceros and the one-horned rhinoceros. However, the angry rhinoceros and the one-horned rhinoceros didn't want to listen to Wutong's explanation and started charging directly. It seems that there is no way to make sense. All the little ones, come on. Wutong saw that the appeasement failed and directly turned on the bandit mode to command his Pokémon to start the resistance. Wutong's Pokémon hadn't exercised well since the Quartz Conference, and they were all in a state of high fighting spirit. With this opportunity, Wutong's Pokémon went straight to meet them. By the way, it seems like I forgot something. Wutong looked at his Pokémon and easily suppressed the rhinoceros and the one-horned rhinoceros, and said to himself, who is that person over there? A shout came along with the sound of a car horn. Seeing Miss Junsha driving a convertible off-road, Wutong knew what he had forgotten. What should I do if Miss Junsha finds out when I'm doing something bad? Waiting online, urgent. In the evening, Wutong sat there obediently on Miss Junsha's boat. Wutong, who was almost mistaken for a poacher, tried hard to prove his identity. Because the Pokémon Encyclopedia was not on him as a carrier of Xiao AI, it was temporarily with Mutuo. Wutong had to contact Professor Oak. After confirming that Wutong was not a poacher, but entered the island by accident, Wutong was finally exempted from the one-day tour of the prison. However, it was inevitable that he would be verbally educated. After being nagged by Miss Junsha for 4 or 5 hours, Wutong who promised not to tell the situation here, was also scolded by Miss Junsha. Sister took the boat out of the island. Wutong left some food for the diamond-horned rhinoceros and unicorns as compensation. Of course, Wutong also secretly asked the dream demon to pick a lot of pingon fruit and store it in the shadow, so it was not in vain to come to Pingon Island. On the sea, Wutong sat on the crystal rock snake and headed for Yuzu Island. Miss Junsha of Pingon Island left after sending Wutong out of the vortex area. When can this pink color fall off? Wutong said while looking at his pink hair in the mirror. But at this time, the pupils have returned to normal and are no longer pink. The crystal rock snake and the giant bee also ate a lot of pingon fruit, so they are still pink and tender. It will probably take a few days to completely return to their original color. But traveling in the Orange Islands is so boring. I still like to travel down to Earth. Wutong said to himself. We'll be at Yuzu Island soon. Lotum Chief Navigator Mobile Rotom said as he flew aside. Rotom, you've eaten a lot of tangerines, right? Why didn't it turn pink? No, how did you eat the tangerines? The bored Wutong said to Mobile Rotom. This is secret Lotum. Mobile Rotom replied. Is it because of the phone? Quick, Rotom, come out of the phone and let me see. Wutong said. Okay, Lotum Mobile Rotom said, and flew back to Wutong's backpack, and then the normal Rotom flew out. Sure enough, it turned pink too. Wutong said as he looked at Rotom who had completely turned pink. After Wutong finished watching, Rotom immediately returned to the phone, and Mobile Rotom appeared again. After the hard-working crystal rock snake sailed on the sea for a while, Wutong successfully arrived at Yuzu Island. Come to think of it, there seems to be only the Yuzu Gym on Yuzu Island. It seems that we have to stay in the Yuzu Gym today, Wutong said as the sky was getting dark. Little sea lion, where are you? A little girl ran over while shouting. Big brother, have you seen a little sea lion? The little girl ran over and asked after seeing Wutong. Little sea lion? I didn't see it. I'll help you find it. Crowhead, come out. Wutong said and called out the crowhead. Crowhead is very good at finding things. With the help of Crowhead, the two found the little sea lion on the edge of a cliff. Great, little sea lion, big brother, thank you big brother. What's your name? My name is Mary. The little girl said to Wutong happily while holding the little sea lion. Just call me Wutong. By the way, do you know how to get to the Yuzu Gym? Wutong, who had already recognized the identity of the little girl in front of him, said. No problem, I'll take you there. Mary said without hesitation. Following Mary to the Yuzu Gym, Wutong suddenly remembered that the owner of the Yuzu Gym, seemed to be very arrogant. It felt that there would be a good show when Xiaomei and met, and Wutong suddenly felt that he seemed to have missed something. Mary, where have you been? A voice interrupted Wutong's thoughts. Looking up, the owner of the Yuzu Gym, was standing in front of Mary. Behind was a group of younger brothers wearing the same clothes. I always feel that the gym owners of the Orange Island seem to be problem children, Wutong thought maliciously. Thank you for helping my sister find the little sea lion. You should have only one thing, to come to the Yuzu Gym, right? Who learned about the incident from Mary, said to Wutong. Yes, I came to challenge the Yuzu Gym. If possible, I hope I can stay for another night, Wutong said. Whether you are qualified to be my opponent needs to be tested, but it's late today, and I need to rest. I will test you tomorrow. I hope you won't let me down. Left after saying that. A younger brother was left behind to take Wutong to the guest room. Wutong was mentally prepared for A's arrogance, so he didn't care too much, and went directly to the guest room. Chapter 124. The next morning, Wutong boarded A's speedboat and came to the skill test site. The rule of the Yuzu Gym is 3v3. I will use a Pokémon with the same attributes as you, but the premise is that you pass the test. A said to Wutong. Let's start. It's just a warm-up. Beedrill, please. Wutong said indifferently. It was still the pink Beedrill that appeared beside Wutong. Pink Beedrill? You don't have any special hobbies, do you? A couldn't help asking after seeing Wutong's Beedrill. You know, Wutong at this time has pink hair, a pink backpack, and the Pokémon he called out is also pink. Although it is full of weird metallic texture, it is pink after all. If it were a girl, it wouldn't matter. Just a cute girl who likes pink. But the problem is that Wutong is a boy. It doesn't feel right to like a cute boy who likes pink. I don't know what you think, but you must have misunderstood. Wutong replied with a twitch in the corner of his eye. In order to prevent the discussion from continuing, Wutong urged to start the test. The so-called test is just moving target shooting, which is a piece of cake for Wutong. Except for the crystal rock snake that just joined the team, any other Pokémon can pass the test easily. So, Wutong's Beedrill passed the test easily. Your Pokémon has been trained very well. It seems that you are qualified to challenge me. After Wutong passed the test, A said arrogantly. Yes, I need to choose the attributes of the Pokémon to fight, right? Just water, fire, and flying. Wutong waved his hand and said perfunctorily. Seeing Wutong's perfunctory look, A, who had already thought of how to act cool, stopped for a moment like hitting cotton with a punch. Humph, it seems that you are very confident, so let's go to the battlefield, A said. They came to a huge rock that had been flattened. Wutong and A stood on both sides, and there was a hot air balloon in the air, on which were Mary and A's brothers. Call out your Pokémon. I, A, the Southern Star of the Southern Cross, agree that you are qualified to be my opponent, A said, tossing his hair. Wutong looked at A speechlessly. It seemed that this guy knew that he could not cooperate with him to act cool, so he ignored himself and acted cool. Wutong from Tokiwa City challenges Southern Star, A from Uzujim. The battle begins. A younger brother who was sitting on Pidgeot and acting as a referee shouted. The first round is the flying type. Crowhead, come out. Although the rule of the user gym is to have 3 battles of the same attribute, Wutong still habitually called Crowhead to start. It's up to you, Pidgeot. A flicked his hair again and sent out his flying Pokémon. Gallop. Crowhead's eyes lit up when he saw A send out Pidgeot. Crowhead seems to have a strange habit. Wutong looked at the excited Crowhead and said to himself. Speaking of which, Crowhead is obviously not weaker than Shinji's Pidgeot, but he is always bullied by Shinji's Pidgeot. And when he sees other Pidgeots, he will be very excited and want to have a good fight, referring to a one-sided beating. It feels like my Crowhead seems to be going further and further on the road of gentleman. Is this a gentleman crow? Question mark? Although I have never seen this Pokémon, this color. A frowned after seeing Crowhead. Don't worry about these details, Crowhead. Tailwind. Wutong interrupted A directly. He didn't want to continue on this topic. Gallop. Crowhead called out, and the airflow directly wrapped around his body. Pidgeot, lightning flash. A commanded Pidgeot to start the attack. Pie. Pidgeot vibrated its wings and rushed towards Crowhead. Crowhead, quality combo. Wutong shouted. Gallop. Crowhead shouted loudly, bluffing, provoking, flattering, and making trouble one after another, and then ended with self-suggestion. Pidgeot, who was still charging, instantly turned into a headless fly, became very confused, and could only use lightning flash to fly around. Crowhead was observing Pidgeot from a higher altitude. Pidgeot, cheer up. I saw that he was like a headless fly. Pidgeot, who was flying around in white light, called out. However, Pidgeot couldn't hear what A was saying at this time. It just wanted to fly freely. Damn, what kind of fighting method is this? A couldn't help but say when he saw that Pidgeot was still flying without any reaction. This is proof that your Pidgeot's willpower is too weak. It's really disappointing. Wutong shook his head and said, of course he said so deliberately. After all, this guy dared to hit Xiaoxia. How can you mortals get involved in the first generation of Wise Girl? Damn guy. Pidgeot, recover quickly. A shouted at Pidgeot. However, Pidgeot was still flying freely and had completely let himself go. Almost. Crowhead brave bird attack. Wutong saw that Pidgeot's speed had slowed down, so he commanded. Gallop. Crowhead was covered with white light and turned into a giant energy bird and crashed into Pidgeot. Pidgeot was directly knocked to the ground, struggled twice and lost his ability to fight. Come back, Pidgeot. A took back Pidgeot and waited for Wutong to choose the next attribute of Pokémon. Come back, Crowhead. The next attribute is fire attribute. Wutong took back Crowhead, who was showing off excitedly there, and said, go, Platypus. Wutong called out his fire type facade. Ninetales. Beat him. A also called out his fire type Pokémon. Let the music start. A snapped his fingers and said. A little brother on the hot air balloon took out a tape recorder from somewhere and played music. As the music sounded, Ninetales began to shake his body rhythmically. It's really fancy. Platypus, spray flames. Wutong asked Platypus to launch an attack. Bubon. Platypus raised its gun barrel arm and shot a column of fire at Ninetales. However, the hot column of fire did not have any effect on Ninetales, but made Ninetales more energetic. It's really a fire starter. There's really nothing new about it. Duck-billed flame beast, rock blockade. Wutong said when he saw the state of Ninetale. Bubon. Duck-billed flame beast waved its claws and threw stones at Ninetale. However, Ninetale swayed left and right with the rhythm of the music and avoided the rock blockade of duck-billed flame beast. Ninetale, dance attack. A commanded proudly. Ninetale heard the command and took a step without recognizing relatives, shaking its body left and right to attack duck-billed flame beast. Duck-billed flame beast, earthquake. Wutong commanded calmly. Bubon. Duck-billed flame beast stomped the ground hard and the ground began to shake violently. Not that easy. Ninetale, flash of lightning. A commanded. Ninetale jumped up directly, bringing a burst of white light and crashing into duck-billed flame beast. Duck-billed flame beast, smoke. Wutong commanded. Bubon. Thick black smoke billowed out from the barrel of the duck-billed flame beast, and the figure of the duck-billed flame beast was directly covered by the black smoke. Ninetale suddenly lost its target and stopped. Ninetale, spray flames. A shouted. Ninetale opened its mouth and a column of fire shot out, sweeping the smoke from left to right. Duck-billed flame beast, earthquake. Wutong commanded directly. It was just a spray of flames, and the duck-billed flame beast could easily use a skill with the spray of flames. The ground began to shake again, and this time the Ninetale did not have time to dodge and was directly shaken to the ground. Duck-billed flame beast, rush over. Explosive fist. Wutong planned to take advantage of the victory and commanded. Bubon. The duck-billed flame beast rushed out of the smoke and rushed to the side of the Ninetale, and a light appeared on its fist and hit it with all its strength. Ninetale, cheer up and find the rhythm back. A shouted. Ninetale Fox heard A's voice and stood up again, then shook his body again and dodged the explosive punch of the duck-billed flame beast. Duck-billed flame beast, don't listen, sonic punch. Wutong said calmly. Bubon. The duck-billed flame beast clenched its claws into fists and hit it quickly. Following the rhythm of the music, Ninetale Fox could barely dodge at first, but soon couldn't keep up with the speed of the duck-billed flame beast's punches and was constantly beaten. The last punch directly knocked Ninetale Fox out. Ninetale Fox, flame whirlpool. A found that the rhythm of his music was not effective, so he chose to attack. Ninetale Fox stood up again, and a flame shot out, spinning like a whirlpool, and flying towards the duck-billed flame beast. Flame wheel rush over, then explosive punch. Wutong said. Bubon. The duck-billed flame beast, covered with flames, rushed directly to the Ninetale Fox. The flame vortex of the Ninetale Fox could not break through the flames covering the duck-billed flame beast, and the duck-billed flame beast successfully rushed to then he punched out with all his strength. It's useless. What? A was about to say that the Ninetale Fox could easily dodge this attack, but he saw the Ninetale Fox being punched out. It's too rigid. Wutong said expressionlessly. A's method of letting Pokémon exercise with the rhythm of music is indeed very good, but the problem is that A's method is too rigid, and you play music in front of others. Are you afraid that others can't figure out your rhythm? The Ninetale Fox has lost its combat ability, and the winner of the fire attribute battle is Wutong from Changpon City. The referee announced. You won. This is a wheel badge of the user gym. A said after taking back the unconscious Ninetale Fox. Thank you, then goodbye. Wutong took the wheel badge, and after a polite conversation, he was ready to leave. Wait a minute, can you tell me why you were able to hit the Ninetale Fox with the last blow? A asked. Wutong turned his head in confusion and saw A's serious expression. You will understand when a guy named Xiaozhi comes to challenge you. Wutong waved his hand and left. Just kidding. This kind of thing is very troublesome to explain, so Wutong did not hesitate to put the blame on Xiaozhi. Xiaozhi, Seeing Wutong leaving, A said to himself. Chapter 125. The best time to go out is to go out. To become the strongest Pokémon trainer in the universe, Wutong is still working hard on the sea today to get the White Wave badge of the Napier Gym in the Orange Islands. Alas, it's boring to write a diary now that no one is complaining. Wutong closed the small notebook and said to himself, starting from Zygon Island in the west, in order to beat 4 gyms as quickly as possible and then challenge the chief trainer of the Orange League, Wutong plans to walk around the Orange Islands counterclockwise. As for why it is not clockwise, it is because the location of the chief trainer Xiaoxi is the citrus island in the northwest corner of the Orange Islands. However, after just finishing half of the gyms, Wutong is already a little tired of the sea. Damn it. I shouldn't have made such a restriction earlier. X4 at this time, Wutong, Shinji, Xiaomei and Xiaoming, who were in 4 different locations in the Orange Islands, complained at the same time. Xiaoxi was able to travel the Orange Islands entirely by sea, one because he had no flying Pokémon to use, and the other because he had someone to accompany him. As a result, the 4 of them now set a rule that flying Pokémon cannot be used to travel in order to limit the speed of others. As a result, the 4 of them can only sail alone on the sea. However, although there was no one to supervise, the 4 of them all followed the rules and used water Pokémon to travel. This may be the romance of boys, or it may be the naivety of boys. Don't say that Wutong is a reborn person with an older mentality. Men are teenagers until they die. Just as Wutong was complaining to himself, the sound of a ship's whistle came from behind him. The pink-haired guy riding a pink Pokémon over there. Where are you going? Do you want us to give you a ride? On the deck of the ship, an uncle called out to Wutong. Wutong turned his head when he heard the call, and the moment he saw the ship, he didn't care about the pink-haired guy riding a pink Pokémon. He just wanted to experience the feeling of being down to earth. Really? Thank you so much, it's great. Wutong replied loudly. As for danger, it doesn't exist. He is a Pokémon trainer after all. Thank you so much, uncle. My name is Wutong, from Changpon City. Wutong introduced himself after getting on the ship. Just call me John. I'm not old enough to be called uncle yet. But Wutong, there is a pink Pokémon. Are you the champion of this quartz conference? John thought for a moment after hearing Wutong's self-introduction. Uncle John, you are really a good person, Wutong said with tears in his eyes, holding John's hand. This was the first time he was recognized since the quartz conference. He finally won the championship, but no one knew about it. Who could understand the feeling? So don't call me uncle, John said helplessly. Captain, what happened? A girl with 2 small braids came over and asked. A chubby Raichu followed her. Xiaohu, this is Wutong, the champion of the quartz conference. I saw him traveling alone on the sea, so I thought of giving him a ride. John said. Champion of the quartz conference. Isn't that amazing? Xiaohu said in surprise. No, not that amazing, Wutong said modestly, scratching his head. By the way, where are you going, Wutong? Our Pokémon Performing Arts group is planning to go to Hasser Island for a tour of the new script. John asked. Hasser Island? I plan to go to Napier Island to challenge the Napier Gym. Wutong said. Is that so? Then you can go to Hasser Island with me. By the way, come and see our performance. It's wonderful, John said confidently. Captain, there is actually a problem with the new script, Xiaohu suddenly said at this time. What? What's the problem? John asked anxiously. Anu's Picossi suddenly fell ill, and Xiaoxi Michin was accidentally injured in the last performance. Now there is no Pokémon to play the heroine, Xiaohu said worriedly. If it is an old script, you can also find a script without a heroine to play, but the new script is a love drama, and there is another problem, that the heroine of the new script has a family, and we don't have enough Pokémon. Xiaohu continued. What? Obviously Xiaohu and Raichu can finally play the heroine. I can perform, my voice has recovered, and I have a new script, but this kind of thing happened again, John said desperately. Well, sorry, in this case. Can't we just perform the old script directly? Wutong interrupted carefully. No, we have already promoted the new script. If we don't perform it, the impact will be very bad, and it will seriously affect the reputation of our performing group. Xiaoxia said directly. Is that so? That's really troublesome. Wutong said, touching his chin. Damn, where can I find a trainer at this time, and a group of Pokémon with the same characteristics? John scratched his head in distress. Hey, wait. John suddenly thought of something. Trainer. Xiaoxia, who obviously thought of the same thing as John, looking at Wutong and said. Pokémon with the same characteristics. John said with shining eyes. The common characteristics of Wutong's Pokémon should not be too obvious. Yeah, it's really difficult. Why are you two looking at me? You don't want to? Question mark? Wutong thought, and raised his head to find John and Xiaoxia looking at him. Brother Wutong. Please. John held Wutong's hands and said earnestly. Yes, Wutong, please let us see your Pokémon. Xiaoxia also said seriously. Okay, Uncle John, let me go first. Wutong said awkwardly. Everyone, come out. In the expectant eyes of John and Xiaoxia, Wutong released his Pokémon. Largette, Bubengab, Hera, Ho. 6 pink Pokémon appeared on the deck. Seeing these 6 Pokémon with very harmonious colors, John and Xiaoxia became very happy. Wait, there is no Pokémon that can be the heroine here. You keenly discovered the problem. Hey, really? If Picossi can recover? Xiaoxia, who also started crying again. Dream. The dream demon suddenly emerged from Wutong's shadow. I heard that you are looking for the heroine. The heroine is out. X2 John and Xiaoxia, who shouted excitedly when they saw the dream demon floating out, so much so that they both ignored why Wutong could carry 7 Pokémon. Dream demon, do you want to be the heroine? Wutong asked when he saw the dream demon floating out. Dream. The dream demon nodded. Of course, he had to get involved in such an interesting thing. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.